Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 10. Is it 102 or 103?
I don't know. You're the mathematician.
103, I think we're on. And we're delighted to be joined by Billy McConnell. We're down at Mallory Park, just down the road from where you live now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 6 miles from me, so come down, and the weather is absolutely perfect for your race meeting here, I see, this weekend, though.
At moments like this, do you miss it? Do you miss home? Like, you must just go, this is shite.
Well, yeah. But obviously in the wintertime, normally when I race, I can normally do like 8 months, 9 months here. And then when I go back to Australia, it's just coming into their summer. So it works out perfect. But yeah, as we sort of touched base on before, the COVID's really messed everything around with that. So this is probably the third time I've actually stayed for a full winter and gone through it. So I work for Triumph Motorcycles as well as a test rider there. So we've been a few years there. We had real busy testing program, and then we had some dealer launches and the bikes, new releases of the new Triumphs and stuff. So we got to go to Morocco and Spain and do all that. So we've been lucky enough to do that, but then always had to come back to the cold weather and that. But sometimes it's nice. It's only when you see on Facebook and stuff your friends and family back home, they're all out jet skiing and beer, and it's 40 degrees, and then over here, like people don't really get it back home. You're like, oh, it's hot here, it's hot. See how it's 22 degrees. They're like, fucking hell, 22. They go, oh, it's 20 here, and we're like rugged up, and it's a different sort of heat, Like when it gets 30 here, it is hot, man. Like I've had to buy fans and everything for the house, and it doesn't really get it very often, but it's a different heat. But England has been good to me, and I've had a great time here. My
first quick question then: if it wasn't for the high level of BSB, would you live in England?
I said this to a few people. I said if England was the same climate as Spain and stuff, like I'd probably never see myself ever going back home.
Yeah.
So because it's so easy to get to Spain, it's so easy to get to France. You can go everywhere in Europe. But in Australia, it's there's only 6 rounds a year with the race, and the racing's competitive. I think the health and safety stuff there has got really hard. Even just to get the motorcycle license is really expensive.
Really?
Yeah, and you've got speed cameras everywhere. They're hidden inside, like on front of number plates on the police cars and that, and everything just seems to be hard work on the motorcycle front. So
there goes the stereotypes, because I'm thinking Crocodile Dundee, thongs, flip flops, whatever you call
you get some hillbillies out there.
Shooting people.
It's good. My mate's got a shack up with the river and stuff, and we get up there all the time in the summertime, and it's everything goes mad up there. The best thing about it, you get no phone signal there, so everyone that goes up there, you're there for 2 or 3 weeks. For New Year's and that, and there's no one person sitting on the corner, and you go old school, right next to the fire, have a few beers and have a good chat, and that technology is out of things. And we got jet skis or speedboats the next day, or you can float around in the river if you're hungover and regroup, and that
it sounds outstanding, to be fair.
But a few times I've put my tooth through my chin and that, thinking I knew what I was doing on my jet ski, and then the only bad thing about it's an hour to the hospital. So my dad's dislocated his shoulder twice in the river, and we thought he was just having a turd in the middle of the river, and so I decided to get my ski off and burn out to him, and he's like, meow, meow. I was off to the sick bay again, Dad.
Sick bay. So do you sign sorry, Chrissy, do you sign like a pact? You know what I mean? Like, what happens in the hills stays in the hills.
Yeah.
No one will
well, you got to be careful these days, because everyone's out to sue you, aren't they? So you got to be careful of the people you take up there.
Do you know when you were saying about not going home this winter, like the British winter, is that just a cost thing? Is it really expensive to go home?
It was a little bit of a cost thing. My partner's overseas from Australia as well, and then the rule with Australia at the moment, they're not letting any nationals back out unless you've got work or like a funeral or a reason to leave, like emergency reason sort of thing. Because my sister's just had a baby in Cyprus.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so me and my partner, we went over to Cyprus in November. We did end of October, November, and we did 2 months in November, December with them. And my mum's hanging to get over, even though she's a British citizen. Like, well, I've got a British passport as well through my mum, so that's why my visa thing's no problem. But for some of the other
fact, or was it trying to cover your ass legally?
Yeah, my mum.
Just tell everyone that you're from Britain, will you? Do us a favour.
My name's Tony, really. Just the passport that I bought was Billy. So no, it's it's really hard for some people. Like I know Dave Johnson had a struggle with it, and but I think they have to get a permit through the it's like a sponsored permit through the team and stuff like that. It's quite a bit of money to get. Like I think Brooksy and all that had to get it and then have to get a spot. It's a bit shit. And the whole work thing about, I don't understand. Yeah, get into the politics side of things. But like when people come from Australia, you can't really come to unless you're under 35. It's a holiday work permit and you can only do 2 years and then you have to go back. So it's really, really hard when it starts getting that, because you almost make your life here and then you got to do the visa and passport stuff. It gets a bit technical and hard.
Bloody hell.
Because I was actually speaking to Jason Crump down at the Silverstone
Yeah,
test.
legend. Yeah, Crumpy's second, Seth is young fella.
Yeah, and so Seth is young'uns doing Stock 600 this year, so they've just come back over from Australia, and he was saying because Australia's kind of blocked themselves off and making it really difficult for people to come in and out, it's almost the whole COVID situation is totally different over there because they've kind of kept it out of the country. Yeah. And so people are living over there.
It's fully back to normal, yeah. Completely back to normal. Like Davo just sent a Snapchat before he was at the football and it's, it's the showdown for the AFL 40 and there's 40,000 people in there. Don't even know. I texted him the other day, I said, oh yeah, we're out of lockdown-ish. And he goes, oh, is COVID still a thing over there? So, yeah, they're fully over it.
I'm sorry, Dave O'Johnson's not a good example of, like, running a country. Dave O can sniff out a party in, like, any distance anyway.
He's pretty good at that.
He's very good at, like, 30,000 people be like, right, no bother, yeah, let's just throw this up for the gram. Our country's back to normal. When really, it probably actually isn't.
But, yeah, he's spewing, mate. Like, I think it's first time in probably, like, 20 years. I think he's not been over to the UK, and it's 2 years in a row for him. So, I think he's feeling the pinch of it with not being able to come out. There's only a few things you can do in Australia racing wise and that. So for the boys that's been part of your life for a whole 20 years and stuff like that, to not have the TT and not be sat on a motorcycle in that mindset, it's hard work to deal with getting taken out of that. We've only been 6-7 months out of it before you throw a leg back over and you start clucking for it and you start missing it and all that. So
because I never when we interviewed Dave over Skype back in the Skype days, Chrissy back in the days, but
did you have to buy his credit for it?
Yeah, he is that tight there going up. But no, I actually hadn't. Before the interview, I had no idea he had such a career in BSB, and I can't really remember the exact details of that. But did he just fade out of BSB, or did he?
No,
he
didn't really fade out of it. He just
not fade out. It's the wrong word. You know what I mean?
The hardest thing with the BSB, and especially when that recession hit, unless you had a big budget behind you, and it's such a shame now. You could go pay 80, 100 grand for a superbike ride, and you win the championship, you get nothing, and not guaranteed to get a ride. And that's just the sad and the hardest thing about racing. We all do it because we love it. I'm lucky enough that we got good people like my boss, Alan, and Rich Energy, that are putting some money in and trying to bring the young generation up through, and they're looking after all the way through from the start now and all the way through, and they want to get those kids progress. Where I think, my lucky side of things, I come from the R6 Cup, so and Tamworth Yamaha put me through that, and then I won that, and then it sort of set me up in the superbike side, and then I had Tommy Hill as my mentor, and he taught me a lot about the racing and how to get personal sponsors, and lucky enough, I carried on from there. So,
right. So I've heard you on, I think it was Dave Neal's podcast a while ago, and is it right that you started by racing jet skis originally?
Yeah, I raced jet. Well, my dad raced. My dad actually come over to England and rode for Workington in Speedway when he was 25 or something, and then he broke his back. And then
in a Speedway crash.
Yeah, in a Speedway crash. So he was in a spinal ward for about 3 or 4 months, and then he went back and then just wanted to have a family because they said he wouldn't be able to have a family and all that. And then so he's always been in
part of a crash.
Like, he was in a spinal ward for 3 months and didn't think he could feel his leg. He could stab a fork in there because they wouldn't listen to him at the time, where he said he couldn't feel him. And so he come back to Australia, and then he runs a bike and jet ski repair shop now, self-made, and so the jet ski side of things, I think for him, took over because the bikes were, like a bit risky and stuff like that. Then got into water sport when the first stand-up jet ski 550s come out, and then made his shop doing, so it's called competition conversion. So my dad can convert anything. He's done a TZ 350 bottom end with CR 500 con rods in it, and put a jet ski 550 barrel on there, and made a 550 two-stroke jet ski engine on the bike. So yeah, he's a bit mad. Like, he can weld up anything and do all that stuff. So
give him a quick shout out. Then this is in Adelaide.
Yeah, Australia. Adelaide, South Australia. Yeah. Is
it Instagram or is it a website? I'm have to check this.
I know, he doesn't really follow. He said he hasn't answered it. He keeps begging me to come home and take over the business, but I'm pretty keen over here at the moment still. And then. But yeah, he said he hasn't answered the phone for about 6 months, and the work just keeps coming through the door. So he's not too keen on the advertisement stuff like that. But yeah.
But I want to have a look.
And then my mate, they had a big accident last time I was back there. My mate, my dad was on his stand up, and my mate was going flat out trying to spray him. And Dad turned, and a bit of a lack of communications there, and he absolutely smashed him off the back and broke 3 vertebrae in his, like little cracks in his vertebrae again. And then Yeah, he hit him that hard, it blew a massive turd out in his pants. And then we found him in the river again, in the middle again. So it's a bit of a common case. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that is probably what you'll do after sort of life after racing?
Well, I'm not too sure. You know, the hardest thing now with anything motorcycling or repair, because I work with Triumph and stuff like that. Even when he gets a new bike in, he's like, "Oh, I've got this bike in from Triumph. It's got the service card on it. Unless you've got all the laptops now to plug it in, and you've got to be a dealer for all that." So the little back road shops like that are all getting faded out because you need the technology to log in and clear fault codes and service codes, and you can't buy that unless you're a dealer.
And then obviously trying to turn a profit after that kind of thing. Once you've invested in the gear, and then obviously to go to be a dealer, you need a main road shop and all that. So I'm not too sure really. So we'll just see how things go here, and then the trouble is. Can we just talk about his jet ski career a little bit?
So I started off. Me and my mate Jake Barker. He went on to race the World Championships and stuff. So we're the youngest ever in Australia. They give us our license at 12 years old. We had to go do a permit and a practical test for that. And then we raced against the adults. So I finished 4th in Australia when I was 12 or 13th in the amateur ski. And then after that, I did ski racing for about 5 years. And then my dad actually come back over to Europe to race open water, what Anya Collier and that was doing, those big open water jet ski races on the sit downs. They're like a big beach race, like massive. So there's I think it was like 200 people on the start line, and it's like a big ocean race. And my dad's always been really good at starts, and he got the whole shot, he reckons, and then went through turn 1, hit a wave high side, and then he had all these big roided up fucking people going flat out on the skis, doing his bobbing his head. He's like, what the fuck am I doing here? So he said that it wasn't for him. So he come over to England, where Glenn Richards and Paul Young were these people that he helped out when they had their motorbikes. And then he ended up spending 6 months in Kurt McCarthy's motorhome and Troy Corser and all that. So he was over in here. So when I got back, I was about 15, 16, and he got back and he wanted to get a road bike himself, and then started going to track days. I just started going, helping him with the paddock stands and that, and then begged him for he gave us a 125, old Dave O. Johnson's old RS 125. And then the first time I went out on that, spat a rock in the carb, he nipped up, and then first time I run on the gravel, tucked the front because you think it's like a motocross bike, just all that stuff.
Did you do any motocrossing? So you've gone
always had a motocross bike, but it was always more like the just like fields or people's farms and stuff like that. Did a few motocross meetings, but nothing really. Probably about 5 or 6.
Because the mad thing, you actually regularly appear on this show about your mad skills on a motorcycle. Like you Triumph, I think Triumph must keep you on again. Let's really push the bike. How long? Can this really they don't really.
We have to do so many abuse tests and stuff like that at work. We get a lot of time on bike.
Card.
But when I have to do the stuff for their new filming of the new bikes, and I can get some big rockets and that completely sideways and out of the corners and stuff, and they're like, oh, it's the wrong image for the bikes. They're meant for some old boy cruising down the street and stuff. What I'm saying. Yeah, so unfortunately, all the tricks and stuff like that. But
who took the tricks? So it's amazing how you
not really tricks. It's just because we do.
That's a trick. Drifting and wheeling and endures. That's stunt riding. Cool.
We do track endurance at Bruntingthorpe. So basically, we do probably it's an hour on, hour off. Depends if you've got 2 people. So it's 8-9 hours there. So you get quite a lot of time on that bike, and it's do 5,000 miles or something on that bike, so you get quite used to it, and it's quite repetitive, and you just get used to the old tyres.
So you just self-taught in terms of them massive skids that you do.
Self-skid. Well, when I went road racing, there was a guy that come in and he said you got to learn to back it in and have that control, and he just took me to one track day. He took me and my bike in Australia, and he says, I just want you to be on the rear brake all day, just practice sliding and feeling it in down in the gears. And we just learned that, and then when I come over, and then obviously at work on Bonnevilles or whatever, we just started doing it all the time, and it just gets quite common, you get the feel for it. So, and it's good, but it's hard work on the on the Beamer and stuff like that now, because as soon as you hit the rear brake, the engine brake wants to take it over, so you can't really do it like the old school bikes.
Mm-hmm. Does that not upset you, but are you upset about that progression in motorcycles, the fact that you haven't got as much feel in the stock class? Is that a fair comment to say? Is that...
I don't know. It's one of them. Like when we raced at Donington last year in the wet, when I don't normally run traction control, and then my crew chief Shannon, he had a good traction control map, and the weather around there, and Donington's so slippery. And I put the map in on warm up. So this thing feels like it's saving you, and it's trusting. I could trust it. And as the race went on, because it was the first time properly on the bike in the wet, you're like, I'm so happy that I got traction control.
Donington's like Rod Hull's roof in the wet. A lot of people say it's the planes coming in.
Is that fact? Is that...
People say
Where they dump all the piss and the shit out the aeroplanes, I reckon, innit?
Casey Stone always used to say that. But out of all of the tracks in the UK, it's like by far it's weird how like the tarmac's so different from like say there to say somewhere like Anglesey or Thruxton. Yeah, like Thruxton, you're like literally 2 seconds a lap. Knockhill's another one that's really grippy, and then Donington's by far the worst.
Yeah, Silverstone, like when we used to do the big circuit as well, like it'd be like grippy one bit and then slippery one bit and then grippy. But yeah, Donington was always known to be. You don't really go out if it's wet. And when you had to do the Ron Haslam race schools when it was wet, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
it's just one of them. Even as an instructor, you're like, Jesus, there's a good chance you go because they're on normal tyres. So
because this last week we've had the Silverstone test was like sort of just over a week ago, and then we were at Snetterton for the BSB test. We had 3 days there. The first was open pit lane, and then the second 2 was sessioned. And out of those whole 3 days, I think I got about 10 laps, maybe 12 laps in.
Yeah, I was getting a bit keen on the day one, and I said, and it was like 40 mile wins. I said, fucking hell, who's this bloke? He's a bit keen, like straight away, and lap and a half in, he's I was like, I'm going to pack it in for the day.
Do you know? Because I was down there watching Dom over the weekend, and there was that many crashes over the weekend, and the track was that slippy. Soon as the open pit lane day started, I was just like, "There's no way I'm going out on that track," because it was as if there was something down. Like
I did see that. You know, when you first went out, it was like car rubber on the outside or something, didn't it? Because you could see a line. And I thought, oh, that's the dry line. And on the outside, I was like, oh, it looked like the outside of car rubber or something.
Because I think there was 5 people went out of pit lane on the open pit lane the wet day, and 4 of them crashed. And it like every single lap, if you're listening, because obviously with only one bike out, you could hear everything. It was like,
yeah, and then it's
To be honest, I was over the moon because I had the worst weekends riding I've ever had in my life before that. So the fact that all you lot didn't want to go out, it cheered me up because I
got me brand new bike, and I don't want to put that down the road. I'll wait to I'll break to a proper weekend where it counts.
Yeah, aye, that's the thing. I know I've live and learned from that weekend. But
no. So from like that starting over in Australia, what was the link to Tamworth Yamaha bringing you over?
Yeah, it wasn't so. There was a link there. So a good friend of mine, Tom Larson, he used to be Carl Harris's crew chief. So he used to come back because my mum and dad were separated. So they used to come back in their off season, like from Australia. So Glenn used to come stay at my dad's, or Tom Larson, because he was working for Factory Honda in the World Superbikes and that. So when Dad come over, he spent all that time there, and we started doing the track days together. And then we both had a bike together, and it was almost like we just having a ball. Like we were out there, 40-degree day, pouring a bottle of water out. Me and my dad were the same sort of speed, and we had a great time. It was probably like looking back now, it's probably some of the best times I've ever had. You know, at the time, you're like, I can't wait. I want to make it. I want to be professional. And you get professional, and it's like, oh, you know, you get paid to be at the front. You got to do this, so it almost becomes not enjoyable, but you still love it in a different way. But it's when you look back at it, I hate working on my own bike, and this is shit and that. But now you look back and like, oh, I fucking love those days. You know, it was cool because you just didn't know what you're doing, just having fun going there, just having a crack, learning new things and that. And then so Glenn Richards' manager, Mick Granger, he used to look after Van Meulen. He's looked after Losies a little bit at the start of their career. And then Glenn, and then we were racing the Australian Superstock Championship in a home, which is 600s, and you run on like the Dunlop D208s, you know, the groove tyres,
like road going.
Yeah,
tyres.
A bit like what the R6 ones are, the real hard compound ones. And then
is that just withstand the heat out there, kind of thing?
No, it's just because it's just a one-off, so you didn't have to have wet, so it's a bit more of a cheaper, and you could only have a slip-on exhaust, and you had to run. You could revalve your suspension, but still had to be standard. Right. And you could only run brake lines, so it was a cheaper sort of. And you only allowed to have it was for C and D graders, so it's like a rookie championship into the Australian Superbike stuff. And I was racing with Brendan Roberts and Gareth Jones at the time, and then I was leading that. And then one Sunday morning, Mick rings my dad, and he's like, "Oh, does Bill want to come over and race Mallory Park Superstock? One of my riders is injured." That was Peter Ward, Pesky. And he's like, "Fucking hell, Mick." He goes, "I'm gonna have to call you back." It's like 8:00 in the morning here. We didn't have no passports or nothing, and we had to be here within a week. So, so I've never ridden 1,000 before. So we turned up here.
Hold on! You're jumping the gun here. So he's just got off the phone, right? And he's just shouted down and says, "Billy, get yourself in here."
Yeah, no. So he's on the phone to my dad, and my dad's like, "Oh fuck, I have to call you back." So he says, "Oh, Mick's just rung up, says he wants you to ride his fucking Superstock bike next 2 weeks or a week. I can't remember. It was like a week, I think, like probably 2 weeks, I reckon, because we had to get a passport and then we had to fly out that week. And
what was your immediate reaction?
I was fucking stoked, man. I couldn't believe it. Fucking hell, I was fucking like, yeah, let's go. You know, I was 16, 17. And then my mum's obviously British, and then she's like...
You like to remind people of that.
Yeah.
I think it's still a
Well,
con.
she goes, as soon as England come up, she's like, I want to go home. Like, she hadn't been home for like 20 years or whatever, so she's like, yeah, I'm coming too. And then my sister, she's like 2 years younger than me, she's like, I want to come too. So my old man had to buy us all flights, and then we got all the passports sorted and that as well. Yeah, we turned up here on a Tuesday, did a Mallory Park practice day on the Wednesday, and then it was wet on Friday, so I didn't really get any laps. And first time I've ridden on the wets, and then
on a 1,000 as well.
Yeah, on the 1,000, and on the Saturday we got pole position as well, and that's when Hickey was in the class as well. So we got turned up, got pole, and then we won the race by 10 seconds. So yeah, it was and I thought, fucking hell, I'm here, I've made it. But it was only the Superstock Cup. It wasn't the main Superstock. They used to have two classes, like non-qualified basically, but it used to be the Superstock 1 and Superstock 2. So
that must have opened up some doors in that situation.
Yeah, well then because my dad's friend Tom Larson, he pushed it, because we were meant to go back after that because we were leading the stock championship.
Right.
And he pushed the envelope because Johnny Ray was out injured on the Red Bull 600. So he pushed the envelope for us then, and we got the last 4 rounds on the Red Bull Supersport bike.
And was that with Eugene?
Eugene was on the 125, and Neat as well was on the other one. And then obviously that was the only one to do on Supersport. And then Harris was on the factory HM plant Supersport, and then the Superbike guys. So yeah, I thought I made it. You know, all the Red Bull kit on, dyed my hair blue, thought I was the boy, and yeah, got to the first Supersport round, and just absolutely got my ass handed to me, just because I've never been to Croft before. Just turned up there on a Friday. The weather was shit, and I finished like 14th, 15th. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, that was when it was really, really competitive. But because I was used to sort of being up the front, I was like, fucking, this is shit, man. Like, I'm fucking no good. And then, so yeah, looking back now, and then I was a dick. Did the last round, I did a rolling burnout and high-sided the bike and end up on my ass. And it was when I got fucked 13th or something, so I come past the mechanics, they're clapping, and they looked at the bike, they're like, oh, there. So yeah, I was just like, curled up in the corner, mate. My sister had to defend me in there when the mechanics come in, giving it some. So yeah, and then that was it. So then I was probably like lost my head a little bit there, and
this is still at 16. This is all
so I thought 16. I sort of made it, and I thought, oh, you know, we'll be all right. And then my dad, because he's worked so hard, and he said when I'd landed back in Australia, he says, I'll make sure you're at work on Monday, because I was working for Dad. And I said, I want a few days off, I want to see my partner at the time and all this and that. And he says, well, if you're not at work Monday, that's it. So I went in Tuesday, and all my shit was out the front. He didn't want nothing to do with us, like, because he put so much in to get us over here and that. And so yeah, so I had to get a new job at another bike shop, and then had a big fallout with Dad over it. And then and then I thought, fucking hell, so I'll run my own team, you know, don't know fuck all about it, race in Australia. And then luckily I got a phone call from Astro Stewart, and he wanted us to come over and do the R6 Cup.
Is that Astro still in Stockfound with
Stuart Troman? Yeah, he had Damon Rees and the other boys.
Shane Richardson.
Yeah, that's it. And David Allingham. Damon Rees has just moved to Ashcourt.
That's it. Yeah, last year.
Right. This year they've got
Shane Richardson,
Caelan Irwin, Shane Richardson, and David Allingham.
Yeah.
And David was actually one of the ones that crashed and snetted and broke his wrist. So if he's listening,
all the best, mate.
Get well soon. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to think where that point amazed me. So, you know, looking back, you know that, say, you better be in Monday. You know, looking back, do you regret not going in on that Monday? Because I respect your dad for doing it. You know, like I've never met your dad, but it was a fact of like, look.
It was a tough. It was first time away as well, so I don't sort of regret it, because you're away for 3 or 4 months and haven't seen anyone. You landed back on a Sunday. You want to say like at least to your family, grandparents, other people you haven't seen for ages. So, and yeah, it was sort of like took a long time to get. Me and Dad didn't really come to terms with it for a long time.
Right.
So even when I got a ride to come over, I asked him for his advice to, I got the R6 Cup ride and all that. He said, well, just do what you want to do. And it was sort of it. So it felt like me and Dad are best friends all the time since, but sort of just lost the advice from that, like a parenting sort of where to go from it.
But when you look back at life, that's a pretty iconic moment.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, because I turned up Stuart. Yeah, so it was, and we got here and he said he was on a farm and all that, and then it was this disused pig farm, and it was crazy. I thought I'd be able to ride a mini bike and stuff there, and it was just like dogs chained up, and there was incubators in the thing, and big muddy dry. Yeah, it was pretty horrible. And I just cried for went to bed with my bum bag with my passport and everything every night for about 2 months, and it was horrible. And then one day we went to Tamworth Yamaha, and they give us a job there, and then they were going to be a personal sponsor. And then one day I just started crying, like broke down. I couldn't do it. Just wanted to go home, and now it's me done. And then they said, that's not right, come live with us. And they become like my mum and dad over here, and that was it. And then we got the job done and won the RC because Stuart didn't like me living with there. It was a big story, but it was all worked out for the best, and they become like a second family to me. And they spent a lot of money to get me to win the R6 Cup, and I've always hold them a high part in my heart for that, So we got the job done, won that, and then got the Superbike ride for Rob Mack.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm getting a little bit lost off in that story. So is that after you came back over here to do the R6 Cup, you were living on the pig farm?
Yeah, off with, yep.
And then the guy from Tamworth Yamaha came in and sort of saved.
Yeah, so I was getting a job there. So it was like Stuart got us over, and then Tamworth were going to be a personal sponsor. We went to get fitted up for leathers, and then they said, we'll give you a job as well. So it was about 25 minutes there and that. And I think they felt like it was pulling me in the wrong direction. Stuart sort of felt I was having a bit more too much, and it was just all the politics that go along with it. So I decided to stay with them because I was upset, mate. I had no family or nothing. So
And so were you over here like sort of 17, 18?
Yeah, I think I was 17, 18.
Living by yourself?
Yeah, living by myself, yeah. So, Astro gave us a car, and then, he was going through some stuff, and like as everyone else does, and, so I just wanted some attention and got the job at Tamworth Yamaha, and, they looked after us like 100%. So
That's incredible.
It's a hell of a thing for someone that age. Do you know, like right now when you say walk around the paddock and you'll see a little 17-year-old in stock 600, and imagine them going over to the other side of the world without any of the family and sort of fending for themselves. I remember you now will probably look at them as like...
I remember one day, like I love animals, and I was that broken about this farm, and every time I come past, these chicken and ducks would come to chase me, thinking I had food. And I grabbed the car door, I swung it open to like hit a few. Just because I was that upset and angry, and it hit the hinges, come back, smashed me in the face like karma. And that's when I got and I used to have to stop out to work, like just down the road, and squirt my shoes out with all the pig shit and all the duck shit out there before I go into work. And but looking back now, it's like, you got to go through those little things to make you want to do well, and the hardest thing about having is like when you come over, like sort of lost that sort of help with my dad, that like for a fucking 300-pound car or whatever someone gives you, you sort of feel indebted to do that because you can't do anything else without it.
Yeah.
And it's the same, like, there's people that's looked after us along the way, and every little person that helps you along the way, when you look back, you got to be really grateful for it, and it makes you, and it's just like at the start, like fucking hell, if a sponsor give me a 300-pound car, I'm like, fucking hell, thanks, like this and that, and then you have to do all this other stuff for it. Where now, if I looked at it for 400 quid, I'd be like, I wouldn't even bother. It's not worth it. But in the mindset that you have to go through, trying to like search for something and have it, and it makes you, appreciate every little help that you get. So,
hey, very deep, very deep. No, very true.
Do you feel the situation with your dad was the fact that you were both sort of chasing the dream together?
Yeah, definitely chasing the dream together, and he felt like he lost the like, because when I was working with Dad and when we were racing, it's like, if this ain't done or this job ain't done Friday, we're not going racing. Or and if you don't do this is not happening. So it was sort of, he's put a lot of money in. It's probably $30,000-$40,000 every year racing and stuff. And luckily enough, he's in the trade where we could fix the bikes, weld the stuff, turn down foot pegs. He could make and fix everything. So, and it's good in a way because it made me go, I did think I'd made it before. I fucking had Red Bull clothing. I thought I was the man. And then you get kicked down and you go, fucking hell, mate. Start again, and you're on your own, and it makes you either want it or you don't. Because I rang up a few times my mum, I said, I'm done, like I can't do it, like fucking crying like a baby, like just done, like nothing. And even halfway through the R6 Cup, because first time over, they were looking after me hand to fist, and then was working 7 days a week, then racing, and then 7 days a week work, and I got to keep my prize money because they were paying for my race, and it was just enough to get credit and call back, and they were looking after me killer. But it's just, no outlet to do anything, and you got to go, well, is this dream or job going to pay off? Or am I wasting my time? Because you look back home and you see everyone having fun and doing all this stuff, going out doing their normal shit. Or you either stick at it and hopefully it pays off. So,
And from winning the R6...
I'm still waiting for it to pay off.
coming from Ryan for the Allens and Rich OMG there. He's our only guest that we don't have to force feed Rich Energy, so this has been nice.
I did put vodka in it, though.
Thank you, Rich Energy. There you go.
Bit of truth serum.
From winning the R6 Cup, that then led to a super bike ride,
it's still today. It's still one of the biggest prizes in motorsport history. Like, it's basically like if you win that, you get a factory Yamaha Superbike ride. riding on treaded tyres and on a stock bike straight to Superbike.
Who was your main rivals the year you won it?
We had Ian Lowry, Brendan Roberts was from Australia as well, Dave Anthony, he was from Australia, John Boy Lee, which actually works for my team now. We had quite a few in it.
It was a great...
Chris, I was going to say your name. Jimmy Rose.
It was a fabulous one-make series, wasn't it? It was great.
I still think today that they should. I know, like the British Talent Cup, but if you win the British Talent Cup, you don't actually get anything from it. I guess with the
Not
Red
a
Bull,
career step, yeah.
like as in when the Red Bull won it, when you won the Red Bull KDM Cup, you won an actual factory seat in the shot for the MotoGP, didn't you? Oh, in the 125 class or whatever it was, you know. So there was actually a stepping stone. So, and I think the new 400 class, I think that's quite good in England. I'd like to see something where is it, you know, the juniors, the Supersport, whatever, stock, whatever. That's a good class because to get a Moto 3, they're like 50, 60 grand, the KDMs. Yeah. And if you ain't on a trick one, you're going nowhere. At least hopefully you can build them. They're relatively thing, but there's always going to be cheating and always people going on. But the R6 Cup, you had 30 bikes there, turned up in a trailer. You get your key out your hat and they go back. So you know there's no fiddling, there's no nothing. And there's no... Because you can tune stuff and do little things. So you could turn up with a different rear shock that looked the same as a standard bike, but it might have different internals. No tyre warmers, it's just gone out there and it was all film, natural born races. It was all, they taught us how to do the press stuff and try to do all that. So it was an actual whole thing.
It's brilliant. And we had the Triumph Triple Challenge afterwards that I did for a few years. It was very sort of similar, but you did take your bike back. You had a bit more control, but it was very, very well policed. And I remember there was a time where there was talk of somebody cheating. So straight away the series organisers just called an emergency meeting, got everyone together and said, right, like what's the issue? And like just nipped it in the bud straight away, which was brilliant. But I mean, we've still got the Ducati options, which is sort of fills a bit of a gap. But
I think the way of like it, you actually, because that was only I think 18.5 grand all in. And then you probably won a 200 grand ride the next year, and you won your money back. And you won that year I won a brand new R6 at Donington as a one-off meeting. Second was a brand new Aerox scooter, and third. So
all incentives.
I actually got to keep that bike and I sold it, and so I actually went home with a profit, you know. So, and that's when the exchange dollar was like 2.5 to 1. So I think it was £5,000 here. It was $11,500. So I went back thinking I was Conor McGregor, you know. Like. But that's the best thing about that class, and unfortunately you don't really see, and because it's all in a tent, and if you had about 3 or 4 different mechanics in there, the other people weren't allowed to touch the bike really, so you had to ask them to change something or do something. So and that was my biggest stepping stone. So if it wasn't for that, I think I probably wouldn't be here. So
and straight into the super bikes. You had 2 teammates when you first
so I went there. It was I think when the first year, geez, you got me now.
It was the Virgin
it was me and Tommy Hill on the super bikes. I don't know if it was anyone. I think James Hayden was the year after. Kieran Clark, Sorry.
So who, earlier
he was injured for the start of the first bit.
Earlier in the interview, you said you had a mentor. Who was that mentor? Tommy?
Oh, Tommy Hill. When I first went superbikes, Tommy was already 2nd or 3rd year. Obviously, already won the R6 Cup before. So
that must have been pretty surreal. You know, you've asked this man for the advice. He's given you the advice, and now you're. But Tommy's
such a beautiful human. Where he's such a. If he walked in, even though he's Superbike champion, or I walked into the pub at the festival, he'd be like, "Hey, go on, mate. Hey, go on." You know, he didn't wait for people to talk to him. He's like, oh, and even when we go dinner, he says, "Just say hello." He says, "What?" He goes, "What? Someone going to tell you off for saying hello to him?" Like, or I feel like that you should be not speaking to him. So he was really good with that, and really good people's person, and taught me about sponsorship and. You know, once a paid rider, always a paid rider. Just try, if you get your personal ones, try to keep them to yourself. Don't tell teams and that about it, because they'll be ringing you asking for a ride, but then you got to bring this sponsor with you. So he was really good like that, and he obviously did all my logos, and he was just ruthless with his training and stuff like that. So even if I could take a little bit of his advice, was a good go a long way. But the only bad thing when I went Superbike, Rob switched to Pirelli tyres. So Tommy didn't do very well that year, because that's when it was you had Pirelli, Michelin, Dunlop.
The tyre wars.
So, and then, you had trying to compete against factory Michelin on the Hondas and that. So, it was, the Pirelli's wets weren't really good on the Superbike back then. So,
I think you've already answered my next question, but did Tommy's attitude change at all when you became teammates? I can imagine it being
he was really, really helpful. Like,
mint,
he was, he was an awesome teammate and still a really good friend. And, I still couldn't believe when he stopped, because he was still at the peak of his career and still smashing races and all that. And
It's a shame,
Was it-
really.
was
isn't
I think I think from the outside looking, I don't know, but I think when Tommy puts his mind to it, it's like all in and nothing else can enter that. You know, like you see those riders like a Villapoto, they're just flat out train, eat, sleep, race, and then you can't really have an in between bit.
No.
Is from what I could see. Like I try to fit it all in, and I think that's why I've been racing a long time. If you can have the fun along the way, and it's I don't know, just everyone's different, I guess.
So Tommy Hill,
Because he
after
come
he won the championship.
he won the championship, but he come back from 3 broken femurs like within like boom, and then to still carry on racing, and he won the championship, and then the next year he was about to win the championship. They made that showdown rule, and he was going to the grid on Asa. Remember,
yes.
he hit someone with brake lever on the grid and it snapped his frame. So he didn't get the race. So because it was only a short series, then
That was it. Yeah.
he lost the championship because of that. Other than that, he would have won it. So
Yeah.
I think he got taken out in the first non-showdown race as well. Michael Abbott, took him out going into turn 1, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
So he was doing really well in the championship up until then, and then that and Assen totally snookered him. And I think he finished something like 4th in the championship, but still, 4th in BSB.
But would it? Yeah, still run. Most people only retire when you start going backwards and you can't get a ride. Not to retire when you're earning good money and doing everything well. It's hard work.
Another native man from your soil there, Casey Stoner, he packed in at the whole.
He was 27 when he packed in.
That's what, didn't he? When
I think he
retired MotoGP.
He was over it. You could just see in his interviews, everyone hounded him. Rossi and that wrecked him, and I think he just broke him really.
Right.
Yeah. If
do
he
you
didn't have
know Casey?
No, not at all. No. But yes, you look at that from the outside in. The media's hounding him, and the guy can ride, super talented. And I think when he had that interview with Rossi, to getting threats and all this and that, I guess when you earn millions and that, and you got to go, well, what are you doing it all for if everyone wants to give you grief and hard? It's hard and dangerous enough as it is, I guess. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He had quite a few medical issues as well towards the end of his career. He had like a sabbatical through the middle of one of the seasons. Had to take about 3 rounds away, and I think. Some people thrive in being in the spotlight, and like for example, Rossi's brilliant at it, and sort of the charisma and sort of getting the crowd on his side. Where Casey was an amazing racer and could do things that, like maybe he arguably one of the greatest riders of all time. But he wasn't very good with dealing with people, and I guess. Yeah,
I think that's what he said in the thing. He said if he could just turn up and race, he'd carry on racing. But if he didn't you have to turn up, do the press stuff, ask about all the other bullshit, and then, and for them boys, like, what we just, we think I think I'm busy with 11, 12 rounds a year. You imagine jumping on the flight every round, then they got to be there for a Tuesday press thing, then they got to go to something else for a promotional thing, then they got to go to all the dealers and whatever's around. Ain't just turning up and riding the bike. And then you've got a family as well, and they've got to chase with you.
And like you say, about once you get to a certain amount of money, it's not about the money. You're not doing it for the money. I think at the time he was on 5 mil from Honda, and they offered to pay double 10 mil for him to keep racing. And but to be honest, when you see him, he looks a lot happier, like out fishing with his missus and kids.
Exactly.
And
and I don't think the trouble is the more money you get, when the better you get, the less stuff you need to buy because you normally get everything for nothing anyway. They're all sponsored by Specialized. They're all sponsored by trick car companies. So you need the money when you're starting, not when at the end.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Sorry, not just so much information to absorb there.
But, so that first year on British Superbikes, when you kind of look at your career, it's you've been up to Superbike and down to Superstock or Supersport, like a
yo-yo,
yeah, like a yo-yo. And
when my first Superbike round, I was I think I qualified 16th, 17th. But the only good thing with the Pirellis, it was half wet, half dry. So I ran a wet front into rear, and I got up to second, and it was like for 18 laps, and I thought I was leading, but Keogh was that far gone, and we lapped about half the field, and then 2 laps to go it started drying out, and then Haslam and Greg Lavia passed me, and then I hit a white line and went straight into the wall, and I come in and I was like, almost won. They're like, no, you were second. I said, oh fuck, I thought I had the pit board wrong because I couldn't see anyone, but so I thought, oh fuck, I can cut it with the boys. And then after that it was I think I crashed 18 times in that year just in the BSB, yellow and all my other stuff. So I think I was the second highest crasher of the year. I think Carl Harris was number 1. So I almost won something that year. But so it was a tough year, and then it was hard. Had a good learning curve, and then was set to go back, and then Rob offered us to do the Supersport for the following year because it was such a big step with the Pirellis. And then Tom Grant won it that year, and they offered him the Supersport ride instead of Superbike ride because it was a bit too hectic. So.
What was Rob like as a team manager?
Yeah, he was awesome. So when I won that, I left from Tamworth Yamaha guys, and I wanted to be closer to the team. So I went up and lived with Spider, which is Glenn Irwin's crew chief, and that was pretty cool because
Spider who works at Honda.
Yeah, with Glenn Irwin.
Loves his roll-up tabs.
It was a bit posh back then. He was on the proper Marlboro Golds, mate. So we used to pop a few of them off out the back. But it was But basically, Rob's apartment, or this place where Spider used to live when we used to live, was in the middle of the Scunthorpe town centre, and it was like literally look through my bedroom window. I could see the nightclub, like straight out there. So it was like instantly, see if it's only good. Yeah, we'll go there for a bit. So yeah, I lived there with Spider for about 6 months. And then
he lives on a farm now, ironically. You must have broke him.
yeah, that's it. But he had his big snake in his tank in there as well. It was pretty. That was a bit of a learning curve. So yeah, we lived there. And Rob Mack as a boss was awesome. Like we'd be out trials biking, got me into mountain biking. He was a brilliant boss and sort of good mentor, and awesome what he did with the team side of things and running everything. So.
And did you have a good year when you dropped down to Supersport like you?
Yeah, so I dropped out to Supersport, and Michael Laverty was in it, and I think I finished 4th in the championship with 3 or 4 wins. That was only when they had one race a weekend. Yeah, so that was I think I run number 4 and finished 4th in the championship, ironically. So.
And then did you stay with Rob for the following year in Supersport?
No, I wanted to stay with Rob in but he sort of took too long, and it was hassling her. And I told him I had an interview with MSS Performance Kawasaki because they're running the factory Kawasaki's then. And he says, let me know how you get on with the meeting. And then I told him that I had a paid contract and I was going to go Superbike. And I said, did you have anything? And then he rang me and says, how'd you go with that interview? I said, I've got a contract set next to me. And he goes, you still all right to do that deal today for me tomorrow? And just change the subject. So I just signed with Kawasaki with Nick that year. And then, unfortunately, that's when the recession hit. So I thought that was going to be a big break. The new Kawasaki was coming out in 2008. Me and Stuart Easton were teammates, and then unfortunately Nick lost his title sponsor with Discovery because it went into recession. And to be fair to Nick, he did everything that he could and paid us all the way through, and he did it on a shoestring because that recession hit everyone hard, So yeah, it was bad because we were pretty much just running Superstock bikes, standard gearbox, and everything in Superbike, which you're never going to do anything with that sort of thing unless you...
Well, I had Stuart on the podcast. He was our guest, what was it, like 2 episodes ago? 2 weeks ago?
Something like that.
It was really nice to catch up.
Was that the motocross or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Nice. His little lad races with our...
Finley, was it?
Yeah. Up at West Cumbria. Beautiful place right on the coast. But
I've seen a picture of it on,
I tell you what, he didn't have sober up because when we first bumped into him, we had a few beers down. He's like, interview. And he must have gone round the corner again, doing some push-ups or something. Came in. Like, is this the same Stuart Easton we asked 10 minutes ago? He was totally sober. It was incredible.
We had a good. Me and Stuart, we were teammates when we went to Spain testing with Nick, and then we only did the first 3 days, and I think all the guys were there for 5, and we had a gearbox problem or something like that. So Nick and that flew back, but me and Stuart were stuck there. So we went to the bar, had a few beers and peanuts and that as you do, and the next day we went to the track, watched, timed a few people, and thought, fuck this, we'll go down to Almeria, that Wild West. The horse place there. So we dressed up as cowboys and all this, got all the pictures and that. And the guy's like, he goes, horse ride? We're like, yeah, okay, 3-hour horse ride. Yeah, I go fucking John Wayne, mate, through the bush. I said, that's a bit of us. Get on there. They took this horse. They take this horse from where it was tied up, looked anorexic, looked like I hadn't eaten it for ages. He took it to the water fountain, and the thing must have drunk about 10 litres in one go. Wouldn't leave, and he had to grab her. And Stuart hops on this thing's bucking around. Wee. And then I hopped on mine, mate. My thing was going mad. I'm like, no. I said, no. I said, I'm done. Finito. He goes, no, ma. I'm like, no, I'm off this thing, mate. I said, that's it. We pay for the ride. I said, keep the money, mate. I'm off. That was dodgy as, mate.
All the spaghetti westerns get filmed.
Yeah, there. So there's a big place at the bottom of Almeria. It's like spaghetti westerns, all the old cabins. They do a lot of Hollywood films and out there. So look the business. We've got the photo and stuff still, but... wasn't too keen on the horse ride.
You will have to send that photo over to us.
Oh, mate, that was back when the Sony Ericssons, mate. I don't even know where that phone's gone.
Oh, my God. But what was I going to say there? It's totally gone from us. That's it, right? While we're talking about drinking, I've been dying to ask you, why are you barred from Quids in Isle of Man? The first time I ever clapped an eye on you, Dave O'Johnson walks in.
Am I barred, am I?
Wait, basically, right? These
you only want to go to, if you're in the Isle of Man, you only want to go to Bar George anyway. That's Damien's pub, mate. That's the only good one there.
Right there. Are you barred from the rest of them? Are you barred from the rest of them? Honestly, you should have seen this man, right? There's these 2 bully bouncers. He's going like, yeah, get yourself in. Billy McConnell. no. And you're just standing
I
there
do remember vaguely what it was, but I don't remember what happened.
No, I would love to know, because these two lads were like,
Yeah, because you got to put a
in.
pound in them to get through the turn gate, didn't you?
Aye.
And I think you just said I was too whammoed to get through, but I wasn't.
No,
having it.
you were blind sober. These two bouncers stood right in front of you and went, no, son, something must have happened early. This is the classic TT, this. And I'm going, what has Billy McConnell done in Quids Inn to get this welcome?
That's why I call me Billy the Quid.
Billy the Quid. We'll have
Where's
to
your
get that.
mate? Where's your mate, Bar? Give him a good plug.
Yeah, Damien Bar George.
Is
In Isle of Man, yeah.
Is that down in
Whereabouts?
Douglas?
Yeah, Bar George, yeah.
Bar George.
I've only been there. I've only been to TT twice.
Shut up, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I must have made a good impression then. Yeah, but
So is it right now?
I even rung up, I reckon.
Jesus.
Yeah, I rung up, made a complaint about it.
So yeah, while we're talking about the TT, let's talk about the roads. Dale Johnson, good friend of yours, does the roads. What about yourself? You ever...
I'd love to do the roads. I think the Northwest took my eye, but I wouldn't want to do it in the patchy conditions. I did a lot of road riding for Triumph and like do mileage and stuff like that. And there's a few different roads that I had a little pre-run. Like you try to remember the whole thing. And I swear there was some bits coming up that I didn't think that I thought was a left and it was a right. And most people know me. They said like Davo reckons I wouldn't even make it down Bray Hill before I didn't know where I was going. So there's a few things like I was happy with how I've turned out with the short circuit. And I always never said I never wanted to go. I think a lot of people go there because there's money to be had, or like my goal was short circuit. I think if I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a TT rider, I would have went for sure, or I wanted to be a street rider. But I didn't even really hear about the TT until I come over here. So it wasn't. And then my mum and dad didn't want me doing it at the start, and then. But when I went there, I love the whole thing. I just think it's like you guys gearing up like gladiators and going out there. You know, it looks cool as fuck when you see people take like a tap on the shoulder and you're just on your own like that time game. But I think for me, if it was a shorter circuit and like say the Northwest, and you only did it in the dry, I'd be keen. But you know, when I go to that Northwest, you see those dodgy conditions sometimes and all that. That's probably the only reason I'd not done the Northwest, because I wouldn't want to go there and say, oh yeah, I'm not riding, it's wet, because most of the time you're always going to get wet stuff there, aren't you?
What about Macau then? Because we had Stuart Easton on, and King of Macau, isn't he still?
Yeah, King of Macau. Yeah, Macau was always I don't know. I think if you do one road race, you might as well just do them all, because the risk of everything is the same. You know, and I think McGuinness told me once. He goes, "There's only two walls you've got to watch out for Macau, and that's the one on the left and one on the right, because it's the whole way around the fucking track."
That's exactly. But you've been over there and partied a few times.
Yeah, I went there. I went once on the way back to Australia. I remember my good friend Chris Fairburn. We went over there and lost ourselves for a few days. It was hectic. You know, it was pretty cool. So, it was a good experience. It was pretty crazy out there, like how they do it. And then unfortunately, it was when Dan Hegarty passed away that year. So I was like, looked at it, I thought that looked cool. And then you see that, and you're like, pwah. You know, if like I said, if it was my dream to be that, or wanted to that, I thought that, I'd say okay. But I thought I'd be stepping into it maybe for the wrong reasons or something like that. So I thought I'd just stick to the short circuit stuff. And you know, I'm 33 now, and I'm like, you know, to the time I learn it and time you probably want to get the result. You know, as a short circuit racer, you're used to trying to be at the front, or you want to achieve. You go there, you got to do your apprenticeship. You know, and sometimes you might do a lap and go, oh, fucking hell, I'll get that next bit. And then that one little thing, and then that's it, you know. Like, so it's knowing your limit, and I think I'm a bit more of a ball out of a gate sort of character. Like, I always attack the apexes rather than fluid. David's a fully qualified engineer. He can lathe, turn, do everything.
Really?
Very.
He has a responsibility job.
Yeah, he used to work at Dynamic down at Hinckley, mate. He turned up, he's got his maroon overalls on, mate.
Shut up, man.
Flat out. Yeah, one year when I was on the Smith's Supersport bike, I had because you got to run a standard mass cylinder if you want a thumb brake, and I had a problem. I hurt my foot. So we wanted to try to engineer a thumb brake. Went there and made him a cup of tea. He didn't even drink it, mate. He was just that in the zone, verniers, and he whipped up this lever, made a bracket to hold it on there, and had to use a standard mass cylinder. And it turned out killer.
Dave O. Johnson from Adelaide. That is a shock.
Yeah, fully qualified, mate. Yeah, he used to do all the V8 supercar gearboxes and all that stuff.
Up,
yeah, mate, he's building this thing now. He's putting a I don't know what frame it is, but he's putting a jet ski Polaris like snowmobile engine in it, and he made that little Moto 2 bike, and he's quite clever. Really clever.
Did you and Davo used to live together over here?
No, Davo used to live just down the road, but he used to live in Hinckley as well. Yeah.
Okay, so you spend a lot of sort of your social time.
Yeah. We used to have this thing every Thursday night, like the nightclub, and every Thursday night was like £2 entry and like £1 to drink, and that. So it used to be all of us used to go there, and it used to be hectic. But yeah,
Aussie.
I think Dave only turned up with £2, and that was only enough to get in there, and he made the most drunk bloke leaving.
Oh dear. Yeah, we had Dave on the podcast ages ago. It was a right good laugh. I forgot he didn't come over last year, obviously, with no TT and stuff.
Yeah, so I think the team still looked after him and all that, because obviously the recession, with the COVID stuff hit. Obviously, those boys were all geared up to come over. Hillier is obviously doing the Dakar, and he's doing all that side. And I think Dave was doing a few things in Australia, but Australia's really hard to get anything. You know, it's so hard to travel and get anything sort of sorted, like, especially when you've been so connected here. You basically got to start again over there.
You know when you talk about the Dakar, that's like James Hillier's dream there. He always wanted to do it. Have you got any dreams outside of the dream you're chasing now?
To beat Chrissy this year and win the stock championship.
Jesus.
Have you not got any
chances?
anything aside from the tarmac racing? Have you got any?
No, not really. Just obviously get enough to buy houses and be settled back home and stuff like that. So, I think I am living the dream at the moment. I get paid to ride the bike and racing, and lucky enough with Triumph, we got to go away to all these beautiful events and countries and meet beautiful people, get on a killer podcast and get blinded by the bloody forensic light. So, every day above ground's a good day, and every day's a blessing.
Oh, I like that.
That's the title of the show. I like that. We're going to have to write that down somewhere there, Chrissy.
Now, in terms of your career progression, we got up to the MSS year, and like you said, the Discovery had to pull out, and Nick managed to get through sort of on a shoestring budget, but it wasn't, you can't really go racing like that. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, it was it.
Did you stay in Superbikes for another year, or was it?
No, I went back. So that was done. That was tough. Fair play to Nick. He got the job done, got us all sorted. And then, sort of done and out of a ride. So I spoke to, once when I did a dealer day at Raceways Yamaha, and I said to Steve, when are you going to build me one of these bikes? And then literally he rung us, because him and Hudson had a bit of a fallout, or he wasn't going to do the Supersport again. And then Steve rung us, and I went down there for a meeting and signed with Steve to do Supersport. And come to Mallory for a test, and the clutch had a real lot of free, like two-stroke, I call it, like a lot of free play going in before as soon as you hit the pounding, it goes, bam. As soon as we sorted that, mate, the thing was an absolute weapon. Them Raceways guys built a good bike down there and hopped on that Supersport bike, almost won the championship that year. Had a lead in the championship, and then me and Steve Plater were going for the championship. I had a bit of an altercation at Silverstone, and we had a bit of a punt. I punted him a little bit wide. He didn't come off, which I still think he should have stuck.
We've actually had that on Steve's podcast. He talked about that.
I got a picture of it the other day. I sent to Ellison, and it was because it popped up as what was it?
Like a time hop thing.
Yeah, it was for Gary Mason's birthday, and I have seen it. And we're in James Ellison's motorhome, and there's me like arguing the fact with Gary, and you can see like Plater's getting absolute whammoed off the side. But I reckon he turned in a bit earlier, and I think as a racing instant, if MotoGP they would have just carried on. But so I got a time penalty to reverse the decision, so we lost by 3 points or something like that. So it was a bit of a pill to swallow.
Jesus.
But yeah, so then I finished second that year, and then stayed with Steve for the following year, and that was Kamei Yamaha that year on the Supersport bike. Didn't have as good a year, had a few problems, and then that was what year is that? So then the following year from that, I think I went to Tag Racing on the Triumph.
Oh yes, that would have been with Paul Young, wouldn't it? And maybe Christian Idden.
Yeah, Paul Young, Christian Idden.
Is this before the Smith
No,
Triumph?
So Tag used to have a real competitive Supersport team.
Yeah. I was just trying to think what year is that, because I know I was with Tag in 2011. Yeah, so that was So 10 was Kamei, 11 with Tag and Supersport.
Can I just ask, while we mentioned Paul Young, what's he up to these days?
So Paul Young, he went to Australia. He was working for Motorcycle News in Australia, and then I think him and his partner wanted to come back because I think she was missing home. And then he's got a job for Royal Enfield. So Youngie got me the job at Triumph. He was with Triumph for very long. And then he went Motorcycle News. And then he come back, and now I think he's working at Royal Enfield. I think last time I heard he was in between Spain and here, with the Idiata and the testing facilities at Myra and stuff like that. So he's working with Royal Enfield, the Indian company.
I always thought he would be a real good, like, sort of crew chief type figure.
Yeah, Youngie's just such a nice, placid human being, such a lovable, quiet achiever. And like when he was doing his Supersport, that's the true passion about motorcycle racing, man. Like if you want to go racing, he'd have that workshop up the top here where that little test facility is, his own workshop, his own PYR, Paul Young Racing. He used to work 9-10 hours at Triumph, come here to work till like 2-3 in the morning on his race bike every day, and then go race all weekend doing it himself, like for 2 years in a row, man. Like I come here and watched him in the workshop and I was worn out, I was ready to go home. Like that's what it takes to go racing. I was like, phew, I don't know if I would want to do it. That's crazy.
He was always mega around Thruxton money.
Yeah, he used to have the bars up real high, like the old school bars. And I mean, that year I was teammates with Ed, and he actually had because he come from Motard, he actually had these like rental clip-ons on the opposite side and back to front, so his bars actually come up rather than go down, so it was more like a motocross bar. It's pretty crazy, yeah, and that's what I think. It was weird.
And then I think you mentioned after Tag, is that when you went straight to Smith's?
Yeah, so I went to I almost signed with Smith's the year before, but they weren't quite ready. And then 12, and then 2012 I think I went Smiths.
And that was with Gowland as a teammate.
No, not Gowland the first year. It was
second year.
Luke Mossy.
Glenn.
No, Glenn. I think Glenn might have. Yeah.
There was a 3-man team at one point.
There was a
wasn't
3-man
there?
team.
I think it might have been Glenn first year because I think he might have won it on that year. 12. Because I rode from 12, 13, 14, 15. I think I rode for Smith.
Right.
It was.
Is that the year you nearly stacked it at Alton Park on the back brake?
Yeah, well,
that gets replayed again and
again.
Well,
that was the same thing we were talking about having skill on the rear brake and that. That was because on that Supersport bike had a thing called air bleed. So when the rear wheel locks out, it pumps air into the just behind the butterflies. So it basically like turning the throttle on. That's how he got out with the engine braking. So when I rear braked it and did that, it just started trying to open the engine up. So it picked the bike up and almost squirted us off.
You nearly killed yourself.
Yeah, I nearly had an off, but I did. Yeah, I thought I didn't really care because I just won the race. I was peaking with it. So yeah, then that year, that was Mossy actually took me out there that year. It cost me a few good points in the championship. So he keeps having me that because that finger there is a Luke Mossy finger. So it split my finger, and then he's like, it wasn't me. He says I was nowhere near you. And then some photographer sent the team these photos. There was a full thing just running me off, in the brands back straight that right, and then the next right Dinglewood just before you go there, and he just run us out to the curb until I crashed on the ground. I got my finger caught under there. So he rang me this year because he's doing Superstock again this year, and he goes, I'd watch out if I was you. I said, you've been drinking again, and he goes. And he texts me the next day. He goes, oh, call me. I said, I know you're in my class. I said, I don't care. And he rings. He goes, what? What have you heard? What have you heard? What have you heard? I said, no. I said, I gathered by that text last night. He'd be like, watch out for you. I said, I've known you for like 12 years, mate. I said, I know. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, it's been pretty tough. And he's had a bit of a tough, team coming and going with the last few. So I think he's looking forward to enjoying it. So I think he thinks me and Chris are going to be pushovers. But I said I'm going to give him a finger now. Bilby rep.
It'll be good to see Luke back in with Bournemouth Kawasaki. I know he was at the test on his practice bike, but he is getting a new Kawasaki. And Superstock this year is just like the likes of obviously Luke's coming back, Keith Farmer, Taylor McKenzie, Alex Olsen.
Strong. I think I should just go Supersport or something again. But I'm fucking a bit too heavy at the moment.
All coming back, as well as the likes of us that were already in it last year. Both the Neve brothers are looking really strong. Lewis Rollo. I'm definitely going to not mention some. Matt Truelove, Damo Reese.
There's a huge list.
There's a lot. Yeah, and every week you can put one there and then pop up there next week and that. But I think for Luke and that, when you do super like that, you get so carried away with you can get your setups and your changes. There's such a lot of pressure on yourself to know what you're saying about the bike and not tie yourself up in a knot with setup and all that. And once you go down that road, it's hard to come back from because then you got to question whether if it's yourself. Have you made the wrong decision with a link, a different offset in the cups, or a different pivot point? And then you go, fucking hell, where the fuck did I start? Where Superstock, you're like, that's it, that's standard. You can go up and down with your forks or rear wheel in and out, and you got the kit. You can adjust it a little bit, but you can't get that far lost. And then therefore you end up probably making more time up by just riding the next session and go, fuck, I won't doubt myself, I'll just go ride. Next thing you know, quicker. Where if you're on a superbike, you'd be like, okay, yeah, put a different link in that, put a different cup in that, I'll go try that. Next thing you know, you probably would have went quicker if you just
stayed the same.
So it's really hard, that superbike, the mentality of them boys and such you got to have a good crew and a good team. And it's so hard to get carried away, and you got to make sure whatever you're saying about the bike is 100% correct. If you don't feel well on that day, you got to make sure you say, okay, yeah, it's me. But obviously, when you're getting paid as a racer, you feel like you got to put that in. It's so easy to get lost. Where I think he'll enjoy it more with Superstock, which is not going to be easy. He's obviously a fast rider. No one wins a BSB and not top 10 in BSB and not a fast rider. So hands down, yeah, he'll be out the front, and hands down, he will be good. But I think when you come into Superstock, it's rough. Like there's people out there, lunging back from the fourth row and that into turn one at Donington. With and you're all dicing within each other, but fucking hell, when you finish a Superstock race, you're like, fucking hell, that was good fun.
Yeah.
Or if you finish fourth, you're like, fuck, I was so close. I was first on that. Like, it's almost like the Moto 3.
Yeah.
And it gives you that thing because, yes, you have to have a good crew in Superstock as well, but for a rider's point of view, you can't get lost with the setup as easy. And it's so easy. And the setup on Superbikes is such a tricky thing because them boys are so fucking fast that you go, well, it's not me, it must be the bike. So yeah, put something else on the bike because you can never admit to yourself that it might be you. So when you're on, you're on. And even like when I started with this new BMW M Sport one, I said just put it in the standard position and I want to start riding it from there. You know, because they've said if we put it in the position where I ended up last year with the old bike, you put it in something where it's a totally different bike. So you sort of got to start from base and then make sure you do enough laps so you can understand the bike first, you know.
How much track time have you had on it? Obviously,
that was my second time. Yeah, second time on the bike. And then I come here on my old bike, which is not quite like my old bike because it's got different suspension and that. So they're trying to sell my old bike, which is still a weapon. It's got all the kit stuff on it. But I come here for a track day. Ellison, because we had to be on the reserve list. Ellison got the bike, got it here. And I almost had a massive moment because I've been begging to get out on it. And the warmers were only on for 10 minutes. I was like, oh, fucking, I ride a bike. I ride a bike every day at work, mate. Don't tell me cold tyres, a few turns will be all right. And literally, I went through the S's, not the first S's, and that one going up the hill towards the hairpin. I literally just leant in and went, I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to look like a fucking prick. Like, first lap on the first thing, I was like, oh. Yeah, so that was pretty scary.
It's nice to hear that a professional like yourself can get caught by a cold tyre.
Well, I was like, 15, but I was so conscious about it as well. Like, yeah, cold. But yeah, just fully caught me out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Bloody hell. Now, we got up to you championship winning your first British Supersport championship that was with the Smiths team, wasn't it? And is that
2014?
2014, and Supersport. You were in Supersport in such a sort of golden era for me when I was watching, and those years, you know, where Triumph did dominate for a period when the likes of
Triumph
Smiths and Tag, but also you had top team Martrain up there, Gearlink, Apple Yards. There's so many. It was just so competitive, and it's over the last few years, the Supersport class seems to have sort of losing a bit of a depth of field, and obviously it's been mixed in with the GP2 class.
Obviously, it's dropped down because I feel like I'm not in it, and I feel like the Superstock's got better because I'm in it. You know, like everyone, the competition's hard, but I think
humble.
The hardest, the hardest thing I really want to do Supersport and Superstock in the same year, but the team went too. Yeah, you can do that. You just need a big budget.
No, which fair enough, but you can't. But you can't do it.
Like back in the day, so when my dad first, like when Glenn Richards and Young, they used to have to do Superstock and Supersport in the same year, but I think they only had like one race in Supersport and then two in stock or whatever. So it was a lot easier because otherwise you're coming all the way here for one race, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do that, and it'd either be because I wanted to do it because they've already got the Yamahas there for the TT boys and they're not riding them. So I was like, oh, come on. But, to run another Supersport, you're probably looking at 80, 90 grand anyway. Jesus. So it's not like you just turn up, because the things, Supersports, you got to have a proper bike.
The
Otherwise,
engine,
the engine's 140 horsepower and stuff like that. If you ain't got 140 horsepower, you're wasting time.
Do you have a preference of what you enjoy the most in terms of a Supersport bike or a Superstock?
Or a Superbike,
yeah. I think Supersport when you get when you get a one with anything, when you feel like you finally find that little niche where you go boom and everything's working well. But normally if you're winning, you enjoy that bike. I think I always want to do really well in Superbike because that's the main class. That's what everyone comes to do. But those things, like the whole thing about it, if you're on and you're doing well, it's wicked. But if you have a bad week again, like you're a 10th or a 9th, where the crowd probably think, oh, you shit, but it's still such a high level to be at. But you go home and you hate yourself and you train and you're down and you're trying to figure why the hell you're there. Where in Superstock or Supersport, I always felt like when I went back, I felt like I was better in that class, like I was better than other people in it to where my self-confidence was better. When I felt like when I went to Superbike, it's probably at the time I didn't believe in myself enough to go, I'm that top rider. Where sometimes you can get people call it arrogant or whatever, but most of the top riders, they fucking think they're fucking the best thing there. Like a boxer, they'll just tell you they're the best thing in the world, and that's how you got to be. But unfortunately, if you're not that good and you can't back it up, people just think you're a wanker. So I'd rather people turn around me and say I'm a nice bloke, or probably a lot of people say I'm a wanker anyway as well. But at least I'm a funny fucking wanker.
Would you so very, 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 very open? That I can relate a lot to that. Mind, not the wanker bit before you start getting there. But no, it's. Do you see your confidence gets knocked easily?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it comes from I think it's something that when I was growing up, you sort of got to. It's hard, like because you parents got to tell you carry on and be good at something. But if you tell you're too good at it, they get a big head and think they're like you're already going to be there or what. It's hard, and I think my confidence is definitely. If I go out there and I'm P1 in the first session, I won't touch the bike all weekend. If I go out there and I'm fucking P6 or P10, fucking that thing's upside down because I can't admit it's me. And then you go, oh, you're not getting any better. And I've learned to deal with that a lot better. A lot of teams send me to sports psychiatrists and stuff like that, and you're in a deep sleep, and you're like, no, you're fucking not. But it's all those little exercises that try to get you going, and sometimes that stuff fucking makes you think more like, fucking hell, what the fuck am I eating? It fucking shrinks out on this leather couch, like fucking nothing wrong, mate. But and then when people send you there, you start to doubt it, and then you think, fucking hell, like, is there? And I think everyone goes through that in some way of life, whether it's work or you feel like you're not achieving what you should be achieving, or you put so much into doing something and it might not work. But as long as everyone gets out of bed and tries to do something better than the day before, you are achieving. Because many people have, like, when I feel like I should be a superbike rider, I feel like, I've beaten Eden, I've beaten Irwin, I've beaten them. I feel like I should be in that class, but I'm still very grateful that I still get paid to race a bike and be in that position. So there's always two ways of looking at it. Some people never even got the term professional or do anything. So there's always you can always go, oh yeah, if I had this, I could do better. But you're only in the position you are from your own actions, so you can only better yourself.
As a general thing from doing this podcast and getting to speak to, we've done over 100 episodes, speaking to a lot of people in the paddock. I think a common theme of bike races in general is people, everyone that we speak to, doesn't matter if they've been in MotoGP, World Superbikes, BSB, whatever, they feel like they haven't achieved enough. I think as a racer, if you don't feel like that, it's so much easier not to get out of bed every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's always something in your head going, fuck, you got to get it. Oh, Chrissy's out running today. You see him on TikTok or fucking on Instagram. You're like, someone's training. Fuck, I've got to do that today. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about racing, and it makes you have that drive every day to get up and have a purpose.
Yeah. And if you actually think about all the people that have started racing since you've started racing, and say, there'll be hundreds or maybe even thousands of people that you've been in classes with and stuff, and you think, who of them are right now still getting paid to race? You're in like the top, what 10th of 1%?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's very easy to lose track of that and think, always find somebody that's doing maybe better. But when you do actually break down and think of all the hundreds of thousands of people that you've raced against or in the sport that are now not racing or maybe do track days or whatever.
Yeah, and it is like you're saying there. It's like there's two different ways of thinking about it. And you look at like Casey Stoner, come in, did his job, had enough, and went home. And people say, oh, Rossi should pay. Look at that bloke, mate. What an inspiration. He's 40 odd years old, loves it every time he hops on a motor, puts back, teaching those young kids at the VR46, and he enjoys it and throws off it. Like, so, and that's because he enjoys it, and that's why, and that's, for the sport. Yeah, and you got people like Stoner, they come in, they achieve their childhood dream, and, like John Kaczynski used to say, if you come in and you don't win it straight away, you should just fucking pack up and go home. But, it depends how you look at it. Like, I couldn't imagine not coming to race every year and not seeing my friends, and it basically comes like a travelling circus, we wouldn't be having this conversation if we weren't through motorbikes. All my sponsors, all the places I've been, all that was all through motorbikes. So, it's not just saying, oh, you haven't achieved, because you're achieving something every time you throw your helmet on there and you go out and competing. Any sport, like, amateur boxer, to train yourself or to go into the ring is more than some people ever do. So I think you can always... And if you don't have that want to do more, because it's like that David Jeffries doing, those who try nothing achieve nothing, so therefore they become nothing. And it's one of those. If you you guys do the TT, for someone to fucking put your helmet on and go, that's what your dream is, that's what your job is, and you go do it. Fucking hell, everyone on that grid deserves a medal, and everyone on the grid that goes racing, because it ain't like it's fucking scary, and the higher up you go, the fucking more people you got behind you as well. So if you fuck up in turn one, you got fucking 30, 40 people can't see you, You put that out of your mind, of course. But the dangers are there. And I love it.
Do you know of all the years that you did British Supersport, what was your favourite year, favourite memories?
So I had a great year with the Smiths guys. They were a brilliant team with the testing and stuff like that. Obviously, it was hard mentally as well, because I was always like the bridesmaid, like Rudder, always up there and not quite getting the championship done or fucking crumbling. And how mentally I learned so much that year. That year I won the championship, 2014. I had like an 86-point championship lead like 4 rounds ago, and I only won by 2 points. You know, I just started thinking too much about it. And after I won that year, I just thought, it doesn't fucking matter what, because I was more worried about if I lose, what the team going to say, or what's they going to say, or what. And I had to,
about what other people
and that's
think.
what people are like, oh fuck, you must be so happy you won the championship. And all I fucking felt like doing was like, fucking done it now. Like, I don't have to answer that Monday phone call like, all right, what are we doing next year? But why didn't you win it? Or, you know, helmet deals or this and that. It's like, oh yeah, but you're a fucking bridesmaid, you didn't win, and you know, through all that negotiation, it was like, fucking done it. Fucking done it.
Was it like a big relief?
It was just a relief, yeah. And it was like, yeah, excitement and enjoyable, because I did what I said I was going to do, that I had to tell everyone that why people employ you and that you did your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but, you know,
who was chasing you that year? Like, who was second?
I think that year, I think it was Sealy got second.
Wow.
So Sealy and then Gal,
He's no
and then
mug.
no, Gowland and then Sealy, I think. Or no, it was Sealy and then Gowland, but it was Gowland right there, and then he had a mistake in the last race, so he ended up third because it was so close, the whole thing. So
We've tried getting in touch with Gowland, you know, numerous times. That man must live under a rock, because
Yeah.
It's called Allendale,
I've got his
son.
number and I've got his shop number, and the amount of times I've rang over the last 6 months, rang them. He lives just up the road from us.
Why don't we just drive up?
And yeah, he just must.
he's a
live
beautiful human being as well, Graham. He's a lovely guy, good teammate as well, humble the whole way through. We never had a fallout, and he actually ended up with I don't know if he still is or not, but he was with an Australian girl. Yeah, she was a good girl, and they took over some pub or something, or renovating something.
They owned the pub before they went off to Australia, so they've always kept it rented out. They've come home, taken over the pub.
Yeah, because he was doing it up last time I spoke to him, because God bless his soul. I said the last time I saw Graham was at JT's funeral, so
Yes.
was the last time I seen Graham. But yeah, he's off grid. But even back then, he was over on social media, never just turned up, did his best. But he was
drifted it in.
sick motocross rider, sick
rider.
rider, and yeah, same thing. He was almost done and dusted before we become teammates, and then Smith's giving him the chance because he was sick of trying to get sponsors and paying for stuff. He said, "I'm done." And then Smith's giving him an opportunity to come be my teammate, and he loved it again. And he had a broken femur the next year. And
He set the lap record in the Spanish track, and then
with
went round
Dixon.
again, and then snapped himself, didn't he?
Yeah, because he thought I think it was like a run off a little bit, and then because it looked like an air fence there at Guadex, and it looks like an air fence, but it's just a tyre wall with green canvas over it. So I think he thought he was going to be all right. And I think he was still on the bike by memory. And it was a horrible thing, because I remember being in the medical centre, because, you know, in Spain and they're all, and he broke his femur, and he's gripping my hand. He's like, oh, don't, you know, he was scared. And I was like, looking at him, I don't even know what they're saying, but he was lucky, because I think one of the track doctors was part of his hobby, and he's like one of the top surgeons and stuff like that, so they got him transported and all that. But it's never good injuring yourself over there, especially when they don't speak English, you know, because you don't know what the hell they're saying.
Aye.
And then, so it was pretty, and yeah, it was out in the middle of nowhere, in it, Guadex, really, but sick track. They had good facilities and good doctors there, and except for you know, you've been there?
No, I've not.
Yeah,
I think that
they
this is
got
the furthest I've been.
I think they got all the. I think they had because they've got a toilet there. Like the toilet hole for the poo pipes are like that big, and they got to wipe it and put it in the bin, because the toilet paper apparently doesn't go through there. And I asked the geezer why they did it, and apparently I don't know if it's a rumor, but apparently they got the measurements from England, and one was in millimeters and one was in centimeters.
Shut up, man.
So they put the wrong size pipes in there, so I barely saw it was a turd. So they have to pocket, because I went in there and said, some dirty fuckers put shit paper in the bin. And then it said, son, do not put paper in the bin. And you're like, oh.
There we are, live and learn.
Yeah, I was like, I'm still going down there.
And obviously, with motorcycles comes the territory of injuries. And I tell you what, just looking at your wrist there, that's not even a motorcycle injury, is it? What on earth is happening
so we
there?
basically had some like bone spurs growing off in there. So basically, you had to go see it.
That's a hell of a scar. What's your range like?
Yeah, the range is only to there, but I can get it more to the side now. So
as long as it does that one, son, it opens up.
I feel it was too much abuse when I was younger. But yeah, I got the video.
That's another episode.
Yeah, that's more like a Pornhub or something.
Let's see the video.
Let's have a look at this video.
I'll stick it on the YouTube for people that are watching.
A touch wood, for the love of God. Yeah. Wait, what's been your biggest incident? Here we go. Whoa. So you were conscious through this. So is this you filming it?
It sounded like. Wow. You hear me talking? Sound like I'm whammered, like. So yeah, he had to take he found quite a bit of bone growth in there. So yeah, he's had to get it out.
That literally looks like something out of Shaun of the Dead.
What? Because I remember
That is so cool.
it was maybe not last year, the year before.
Cheers for that.
You took quite a few rounds out for. Was it? Did you have like your hernia removed?
No, so basically I went into just before Alton Park. That was in 2019. So we went to. I knew I didn't feel very well before Alton Park was round 2. I didn't feel very well. Had really bad stomach cramps and that. But I had this thing in 2012. It's called a Meckel's diverticulum. So basically I went to the toilet and I was like shitting blood out. But I had no pains. It was like black. It looked like blueberries. So I went to hospital and I was in there for 3 days. And that's when they were all on protest. So I went to did a wild card in the World Supersport at Donington because the track doctor's there. Awesome. And then finally got colonoscopy and they found I had a Meckel's diverticulum, which is like a 3-inch sausage off my small intestine. So it's like another pocket. And they said they could remove it, but obviously they got to cut 6 inches of your bowel out and stick it back together. So he said he's only bled once in 25 years or, yeah, I think that was like 25 then. So he's only bled once in 25 years. So he goes, he says normally you wouldn't find it until you're like 80 or 70. So I left it. And then I had these stomach cramps in 2019. They weren't going away. So I went to the doctors that week before Alton Park and he just sent me home and said I was constipated. And I started feeling real, like at night when I was laying down, I get sweaty and cramp, like real bad fucking cramps. And then, so after that Meckel's thing, I paid for private medical insurance because that time I was in hospital and on strike, I didn't get seen for 3 days. So I just want to get seen. So I booked in through my private and got to see the doctor, went in there and he looked at me in the waiting room and says, "You don't look very well." And then
Funny, that's why I'm here, son.
Yeah, and then he come in, took my bloods and that, and he says, "I think you got appendicitis. I think your appendix is ruptured." He goes, "You need to go to emergency." I said, "Oh, this is a hospital." And Davo dropped me off there, and I didn't think I was coming back out, so he left. And so he dropped me off there, and then he said, "Dr. Thomas, I think." And I was his last customer of the day. He says, "You got to go to hospital." He said, "I'll take you there myself." So he actually took me there to the hospital in Coventry himself in his car. And then went in, signed me in, and talked to some people. And then I was in the ward, and it took ages to get some pain because these cramps were savage. And fair play to the women that have kids because I feel like that's the only thing I could imagine it was like. It was really bad. And they give me this. I said, "Can I have some pain relief?" And they give me like this
Special K.
mint leaf, like mint leaf. They said, "Do you want some mint leaf or something?" And I said, "Yeah." They give me like 5 ml of it. I think it was mint something, mint tea, mint leaf. It was like 5 ml. I said, "Fucking hell," it cured my pain. I said, "Fucking hell, can I have some more?" I said, "No, you can only have so much." So I don't know what that was. So anyway, yeah, cut a long story short. So I went into the doctor come round. He says, they x-rayed me and scanned me. And they said, "We can't see. It just all looks a blur." They said, if it's keyhole, if it's your Meckel's diverticulum, if it's your Meckel's that's playing up, we'll cut you from here to here and we'll take 6 inches of your bowel out and sew you back up. But if it's your appendix, it'll be keyhole surgery and you'll be out in a few hours. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I had to sign the form because I had to give them consent because they're not going to wake me back up. So I woke up in intensive care and I was cut from there to there and I had a bag on the side with a pipe and I thought, fucking hell, I just took 6 inches of my bowel out, you know. So I thought it was a shit bag, like a colostomy bag. So I said, "Oh, fuck." You know, I'm there on my own. I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
That must have been surreal waking up to that.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, this ain't good." But I was like, "Oh, well, fucking, at least it's all right." And then they come around. He says, "Oh, it wasn't." He says, I said, "What was it?" I said, "Did you have to cut my stomach and my intestine?" He says, "No, it was your appendix." But he said it was absolutely obliterated, but you had a massive abscess that was surrounding it. So it was like a big pocket of pus, you know. But so the whole abscess was just floating around in it. So it kept it self-contained. Because if I would have cracked, because I finished the race at Alton, I still finished 4th. And so then I went to hospital. Yeah, but I've seen a picture. I looked like old and fucked. Like my skin and everything just looked like poison. So they had to put the pipe in the side, and that was to go into the abscess cavity. And then it wasn't like a tube, it was just like a corrugated piece of plastic. But then that was sewed to my skin, stop it going in and out too far. So that was the most aggravating bit. Now it was in one of those little plastic bags. But so basically the cavity had to slowly close down and push the fluid back out this drain. So until that closed down. So yeah, got back home. My sister come over, looked after me for a week. And then as soon as she flew back the next day, I was just violently sick and felt shit. Went back into hospital because I got so much time you can go straight back into the same ward. And went back into there, and they forgot to tell me that they swabbed my bag to see what poison it was, like bacteria in it. And so I went back in, and then got all infected. So all the staples that run down my stomach, the last 3 started bursting. So then they had to take them out, and then they stuck another fucking drain bag on the bottom of there. So I had 2 bags at one point, one on the side and one on the front. And then And then come from that, and then once the fluid stopped, and he pulled the pipe out. They had to because it had to heal from the inside out. So they just stuffed wadding in there, like 2 or 3 centimeters of wadding in there, and let it grow out. So now it looks like I've got fucking 2 bum holes. So I've got like a belly button hole and another bottom hole. So I done it right.
What time of year was this then?
That was in the middle of the year, like after the round 2. Yeah, so
round 2, and then you just
round 2. So I had 3 months. 3 months off, I think. Now I come back, and first session back on the bike, I was fastest at Sneddon, and I thought, but luckily the rain come in, so I was like, yeah. And then I finished 4th, I think, in the race. Just wasn't fit enough, like come back, and then was keen like to do well, and then got a podium at Thruxton next time out, and then
we not a pole position at Thruxton that round as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I remember he smoked.
Yeah, because Coop was on it all weekend, and we managed to pip in there. We got this killer qualifying lap, like no one on track, got this and when you get around there, you can just go boom and just hope for the best. And then literally I come onto the back straight, and I had this one person like was slow enough to sort of back on there, and I just went, it just sucked us right up there. And when you just got to clean that last bit, and you go fucking killer. Yeah, so it was good. What
was the medical advice at this point? So okay,
when I first come back, I still had the patch on the bottom one, but I didn't have a drain pipe because it was so deep. It's like that they get like a thing and just stuff it in there because otherwise if you sew it up, you get infected.
Aye.
So you got to let it heal from the inside out. But they just come pushed on and made sure it was all good. So the doctor said I made sure it was all good because I didn't want to have a crash and split my.
That's what I mean. Point. It's a bit because
I wouldn't come back like that. Just
too soon.
It was just that to be fair, there was nothing really. If I had 6 inches of my bow taken out, I would be like, yeah, I'm not racing all fucking year because you one crash, you split it open, the chance of it taking because that's where you. When they take 6 inches of bow out, they basically use a glue to glue it together. If it doesn't take to that bit of the bow, that's it. They put a glossary bag straight out the side for the rest of your life. So I wouldn't fuck with that.
No.
So, but in theory, for me, it was only the stitches and that on the side because basically all I did was take my appendix out. It was just bad that I had this abscess. So for me, there was no real internal damage as such. It was only that one there and a hole. So most of it was only if I had to crash and split that open, because your stomach wall still got to heal back up. So I'd made sure it was okay, and he said you should be fine. So.
You see, a very mature decision because us motorcycle riders are very, very good at lying about injuries. It's like, but your face is hanging off. I'm fine. Put me on the bike.
Yeah, but also you got to think about the aftermath of it as well. Like look at Marquez, come back for one-off race, and now he's almost. His arms must be something still playing up. So
when we were talking about confidence and injuries and everything, this is perfectly wound up to this conversation with Marquez. Do you reckon his confidence is knocked? Did he come back too early? As a racing fan,
I think he's done a lot of damage to his hand. I think because. I don't know how someone thinks you can ride with a 6mm plate. Like, as an engineer or anyone, you think you're braking from 200 mile an hour. I don't even know what that G-force is. And you're relying on a 6mm bit of metal with screws in it. Like, fair play. Like, he's a different pain threshold to me because I got a plate in my shoulder, man. I still didn't want to ride. Yet alone there, I broke my humerus and, I was done. I didn't get it plated, but I don't know. I know they're hard and they're warriors, but, like, if he snaps it again, you got screws and everything fucking swinging around in there. So I wouldn't want to, but
I remember watching the race that when he snooked himself. And John, another drink, mate.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, just got one. I remember.
No, water up there.
Yeah, water.
You can't have water.
I've got too much energy.
You can't have water.
I remember watching that first race and when he came back, and I think he'd smashed his shoulder, had an operation, and then it was like he got past fit to race. It was at Jerez.
How the
and then he was riding so aggressive and loose in the race. And for me, it was everyone loves Marquez because of his raw, his natural ability and how much he puts on the line, but. He was so vulnerable there to hurting himself further, and he was still didn't. He was exactly the same, and that's actually been his biggest downfall.
Yeah,
because he's lost a full season, and he's possibly will never be fully fit ever again. It's possible.
I think from his point of view, I think he probably wanted to prove how dominant he was riding
exactly.
With that. But
yeah, and looking back on it, he must.
He probably, of course, he would looking back. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Fucking hell, I wish I'd done a lot of things I didn't do.
Do you think we'll see the Marquez again?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you hold someone back like that.
No. What about you, Chrissy?
All depends on his injury for me. Since he's came back, he's still beating his teammate, isn't he? And he's still doing a good job, but he's clearly not back 100% yet.
No.
But
while we're talking about MotoGP, Quartararo, he was leading it by 2 seconds in MotoGP terms is massive. Leading it, and what gets to him? arm pump.
Yeah, it's one thing you can't fucking get rid of.
I have never heard of a MotoGP rider getting arm. Like, obviously, it
Well,
happens behind the
everyone
scenes.
gets it. Like Cal had it. A lot of people get it and don't talk about it because,
Jack had an operation after Qatar for arm pump. Miller, and then he went and won his first dry race at F.
Yeah.
Do you know
Jack Kennedy had it last year on the. If once you get it, you can't. It's not like you can have a quick stretch that way. It's a weird thing because sometimes you get it from the way you ride, or some weekends you get it. Like I get it on a motocross bike, but I'm lucky enough I don't get it on a road bike. Some things like you get it and you can't do it, and it's a horrible thing because, like you said, he was gone, done, checked out, and there was no tyre issue or nothing. And for a team's point of view, they must hate it because. Well, you think he won that race there last year, no problem, without arm pumps. And what's changed?
Because he was going for the third.
So
time
for a team to hear it, and like I guess I think some people use it as a bullshit story, like when they've not done so well, I got arm pump or whatever. But you can't prove it as well. But from him winning the race last year on the same bike to this year, now he's got it. So what changes? The same body, same bike, near enough. So, but yet something might be doing it. So it's that muscle in there that have to sort out the sheath over the pump or.
Because that was, to be honest, that was the most perfect example of an arm pump situation, wasn't it? Like you say, like what
at least you can back off there. Imagine that on the Supercross, mate, when you still got to jump triples and go over whoops and that when you can't shut off, mate. Like
that's another thing you Australians do. Bang out some serious motocross talents. That Jet Lawrence at the moment.
And Hunter Lawrence at the moment, their next thing, yeah.
What a 250! He got the job solely because he was out training with his brother, and they just went. Fancy having to go at Supercross, and now he's just proper. He just eats donuts, chat shy. Proper.
That's what I mean. I think he's like the Jack Miller sort of the motocross now, isn't he? Like bit of a lad and has the crack. And
I think
Miller's mint.
Everyone was pleased to see.
You see that emotion when Jack won, mate. And it's like that's what when people watch it and someone does shit, or it's easy to point the finger and go. You don't. That's her whole life, Like when we go out and we do our thing, like we think we're Jack Miller out there. This is what we've trained to do, and this is our goal, and that's their goal. So when we see that, you can see. Like I started welling up. Like I could see his drive and his determination, and how much people go. You're on a factory bike. You're not doing well. Step up to the plate, and then you get there. You're like, it's almost like one of them. Fuck, like I've done it. Cool. I've achieved it.
That's what pisses me off, especially like the social media aspect. It's like, if you just say you've had a shit weekend where you've crashed and stuff like that, and you think, well, it's all right for you lot having a fun, but for me, without being melodramatic, I've based my entire life around motorcycle racing.
At the end of the day, if you didn't want that media and you didn't want all that pressure and that, you could easily go buy a bike from the bike shop and do track days.
Yeah.
That's why they get paid millions of dollars, and that's what they do. Yeah, they still got emotions in it, but that's the shit you got to be a water off a duck's back because it's the same. You're always going to have people that think you're good or not. And I think the Rossi, brilliant. And Marquez, fucking what a talent. But when Rossi did it to Stone and he did it to Marquez, there's a few people that hate Marquez for no. And you can't, how can you hate the bloke? Like he's always happy, he's always smiling, and he's always at the front. But people hate it from that thing with Rossi. And that's like football. So all sports get it, and it makes that drama. But yeah, that's what they get paid to do, and that's what they got to deal with. And you just turn your phone off on that shit.
And we had Jeff Crust on, and that always sticks in my mind. Was it Max Biaggi that said to him, like, it's all just a game, isn't it? It is. Just
it's a show. We're traveling circus, and that's what you got to treat it like. Get paid good money, take the money off the people, and the people that love you, you stick with them and stay loyal to them, and your sponsors, and the people that look after you, and anyone that gives you shit, and you say, fucking hell, there's nothing to. Try to distance yourself from that shit.
No, we've sort of covered the Supersport years, and then there was a bit in Superbikes with the FS3. I remember you had a particularly good race at Snetterton that year, and then it was back in Superstock with the Bill-based team, which were parked like maybe like a stone's throw from where they're based. And another good year in Superstock. Keith Farmer, I think, got the best of you.
Yeah, same thing. I had 2 tyre delaminations that year at Silverstone, which cost me massive. So I'm known to spin it up a bit, and that's just how I ride. And I was way in front of him, and then the tyres delaminated, and now they do a special one for Silverstone and that.
We're actually running that tyre
all year now. Yeah, I've seen that. That cost us a little bit, but coulda, shoulda, woulda, hindsight in a different way or whatever. But it is what it is.
We after that year, obviously, you'd had a really good year with the team, and then the following year it was OMG in Superstock.
That following year, when I finished, I had a deal with Suzuki that if I finished top 3 in the championship, I was get a superbike ride.
Right, and what happened
there? Unfortunately, the same thing, politics, and they apparently said that Suzuki didn't think I was good enough for superbikes. That's what I got told from the team. That was all done and sorted, meant to be. So I thought I signed all my deal for helmet and leathers and everything, and then Yeah, unfortunately, they said that they didn't want me in Superbike. They'd do a better deal in Superstock again, but I was a bit upset because I was meant to be on a Superbike. And then I've been good friends with Paul and Holly and OMG, well, before the OMG, from Paul from growing up and hanging out and all that when he was racing.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they'd put me on a Superstock bike and the same deal, top 3, and I get a Superbike ride. So I went with them. And it was probably like the biggest blessing in disguise I ever had because I got such a good relationship with the Rich Energy, the team, Paul, Holly. They do a fantastic job there. And Alan, my boss, is an absolute superstar. All credit to all of them, both of the everyone. So when I had my stomach issue, they never put no one else on my bike. They looked after me the whole way through. Those two were they were the first people that I saw. Both Allens were right beside my bed when I woke up and come out of theatre. You know, so they've been like a family team.
It says
a lot about a team, and they've looked after all the riders. They look after all the junior riders, and they still looked after Davo because obviously, you know, he gets paid for the TT and that. They still looked after him, Hector, me, Luke, all through that COVID bit. You know, so that he's got his heart, and he wants to see the young British talent British talent coming through, and I think, you know, he wants the team and everything to be strong as a whole, and for people to sort of base himself off to be sort of like that team as well, you know.
And not many people stick to their guns, and they all do, don't they? Them, like I've
and
met the two Allens on a night out. And
they're legends and nice people, but their morals and how they want to go about racing and how
totally agree.
They've never took money off any rider. They've always just want talent coming through, and once they look after you, you're part of the family, you know. So and there's not many people that say they're going to do it and then at the end of the day back it up as well. So and they're backing it up, you know. They come into it and they're just stepping up and up and up. And the best thing I like about it, they sponsor all the mini bike championships. You look out in the junior class, there's 400, all that. The Chloe Jones, you know, they're all looked after by Rich or OMG. Young Bryn, Sean, there's loads of riders out.
Real foothold,
like Lewis Jones,
motorsport.
and that's and you can't fault the people like that, and they keep stepping up. The hospitality is amazing, and they're making a good go at it.
And they're savage good crack on a night out and Al.
Correct. That's how. Yeah, I met him last time. When I first met him was at a hotel when we were at a race meeting. They looked like having a good nudge. So
do you want to give your car sponsor a little bit of a shout out?
Yeah, to turn up in John Dark,
dealer.
in the old Puma weapon. So the only bad thing is I've got my name on the side of it, so I can't give no one the finger or block the fuse up.
It's a beautiful little car.
It's a Ford Puma. Yeah, so John Dark there in Louth, in Louth, the car dealership there. So yeah, we've been with them for a few years and seen El Fairburn property. So they've all put up DMJ and go on for all my sponsors.
That's the one that you go out in his helicopter. It's
Chris. One time, he even flies his dog to the vet in it, mate.
When we go to race at Silverstone, when you're saying about looking on your phone and you're looking on Instagram and stuff, and then Billy's arriving in a helicopter, I'm thinking, what the?
Yeah, Alton Park. We stayed at a hotel. We flew. Well, me and Chris, we actually flew from Louth to Knock Hill, and then he was staying at a friend's house, and we flew to the house and back and forward to the
factory bill.
Factory bill. I like it.
It's spot on. And obviously looking ahead to this year, I know we touched on it, but you're staying with the same team on the BMW, but it's the new M version. From your
it's the RB.
RB?
Rouse beater. Hopefully. Yeah. I'm really happy that you're actually running the #1 plate too, and Brooksy as well, because I think that like Joe O'Meara running his same number. I remember looking at Kenny Roberts with that big fat #1 on with the eagle head. I looked gangster, and not many people run it anymore. So it's good to see that people are running the #1 plate, because that's what it means. You know, you win it, you deserve the runner. And I don't know. I think Rossi said that trade off, didn't he? With just running 46 all the time. But
he's a multi-billionaire.
We had some good. The racing in Superstock is brilliant. We had some good, battles and races last year, and hopefully it'll be the same this year. But I was just going to ask about the M bike for not the RB. You've only had a few goes on it, but is it feeling much different from last year's bike?
Well, it's hard. It's hard, like, because I think if you back to back them straight away on the same day, you can get a thing. I think the biggest thing that I can feel is the wings.
I was about that. Are you a fan of the wings or not a fan of the wings?
A fan, yeah, definitely a fan. So I tried at Silverstone. We just took them off and took them on. No, at Snedden. Took them off.
Right. You're actually the first rider that we've spoken to who's actually...
Yeah, I think Danny did the same, Buckham, because I spoke to him before, and so I told the guys, I said, we probably don't need to do it. I think Danny said he tried it in Ireland with the guys. So basically, like say, for example... Silverstone, where you go through the turn 1 and you go through that little flip-flop bit. When you come out of there, normally you have to be sort of a little bit like on the throttle when you're starting to slide and you're trying to catch it, and then it wants the wheelie out of there. When you change gear, it wants the wheelie. And I just found like it sounded more planted, the front end out of there. and didn't want to wheelie so much.
Right.
But I haven't back-to-back the old bikes because my last year's bike was really down low, and I've started this year's one in standard riding position. So
to build up your knowledge of it.
Until I start to get the hang of it. But I think the wings, obviously, everyone's going on for a reason. So
What about yourself? Because the Kawasaki's got a different approach to the wings, hasn't it?
yeah, they got a little.
There's a few times in the podcast.
I keep forgetting it because I'm
What's
sick
that?
of your crack. So.
The Kawasaki wings.
What'd you say then? What you forgot?
Oh no, I ask him the same questions. No, but basically, I'm just trying to make material out of nothing.
You always
I
ask
don't
us
really
how-
listen to him.
How
but,
He's hoping the answer's going to change.
that's it. It's like just going in circles here. Just going in circles.
But the Kawasaki wings are like.
He says that shit really. But
Yeah, I was in FS3's garage and Nigel was showing me that, how they work and blows over your shoulders and all that. But it doesn't look like much of a downforce compared to the Beam that, does
It
it?
doesn't stick out like the BM and the.
It looks like a shovel coming at you.
Yeah, it does. It looks the front end of the Kawasaki. I do think looks good this year.
Yeah, it looks
It's
cool,
a bit different. It looks a little bit more like the H2, doesn't it? Like a bit.
Yeah,
more,
a bit more angrier.
Yeah,
But you can't stick wings on, can you? Because it has to stay within the rules. It has to stay the.
Yeah, because I think
shape.
the same. Because I'm not sure what the rules are. Because obviously we run carbon wheels in the M1, in the M Sport, and I think because they're quite expensive, isn't it? I think we were trying to see if we could run the normal ones, but I'm not sure. I think we have to run the standard ones still. Because the new one on the M Sport, you can change the rear wheel in 8 seconds on a road bike. Not like we need to do it because we're not going to change tyre on the grid anyway. But yeah, 8 seconds. Yeah, because they've got the quick release system and all that in it. And
I think the problem with the carbon wheels is it's really difficult to see damage. So basically, once you crash on carbon wheels, you've
kind of a
you've
write-off.
basically got to write them off for safety.
I think they're about $4,000 and all.
And they're very expensive, yeah. And I don't think there's actually much of an advantage from running.
No, I think it was just for looks and that for the sales point of view, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But I think unless you've got like a massive budget and you can just throw them away, it's
because normally with the other ones you can get them scanned or
straightened and all
X-rayed
that.
and all that. But with the carbon ones, I guess normally you see it smash, you done.
Yeah, it's game over.
Polish
at
it
that
up,
point.
put it on eBay.
I'll get we'll run a Patreon page, so there'll be a few questions that people have sent in, so I'll just get those up. I've got a missed call from Joe Ackroyd there. I was going to give him a call just to see if he's got a condition
Any good
dirt on
crack
you.
on you?
He has. I hope Joe's got some new jocks because every time I see him, he's got holes everywhere in them.
Jocks.
Shreddies, underpants, whatever you call them. Grundies, he calls them, doesn't he?
So we've got Nutsy Andrews said, "Hi Billy, I have 3 questions. What is your? I'll read them all out and then we'll go for it. What is your favourite bike you've raced over the years besides the Rich Energy BMW? What's one thing you miss from Australia besides family and friends? And any bike, any track from the Barbagallo Bullet." So we'll go for what's your favourite bike?
I'd say probably the Supersport bike that I won the championship on. That was a bit of a weapon. So that thing was killer.
And that was the Triumph.
Yeah, Triumph, the new one. That's had like 140 horsepower, lightweight, beautiful bike. Motec, engine brake was wicked.
And what was the other thing?
What do you miss about Australia?
Well, I miss the Australian beers, obviously, because I'm a bit of a beer drinker. And then you get Tim Tams, but you can actually get a lot of the stuff now. You can actually buy it from this Aussie website and get them delivered. So you can get all your beers, you can get your Tim Tams biscuits, like Arnott's biscuits, like chips and stuff, like all the Aussie stuff. You can get actually, they must make a fortune on it because I think for a carton of like Tui's extra dry, it's like $100, I think it was $100, probably $100 or something. Converts to be $100 here, but you can normally buy it for $50 there. But I guess someone's got to send it. Ain't no light fucking thing, is it? So
They are. We're good at it.
And it was any bike, any track.
Track, I always like Cadwell because I always do really well there. But probably one of my favourite ones, if you've got a nice bike and a good setup and a good feel, Thruxton, you can't. When those things start sliding around there, it just doesn't feel like you should be on the tarmac. It feels like you're on dirt, and it just feels wicked.
What would be your dream bike to ride? I bet that's one of the questions.
I'd love to ride one of the factory Ducatis. It's just by the look of them and how nice and neat they look. I just don't think you can go past having a look at one of them and go, "Oh."
Nice.
They don't even look like a normal bike.
No,
Everything just looks really beautiful and well placed on it.
I've got one from A Hunt. Would Billy ever consider a return to the Supersport class? What does he think of the new class regs?
Yeah, I just said I'd love to do both classes. So if any sponsors out there wants to put a bit of budget into the team and get me on a Supersport bike as well.
Sorry, while we're talking about the situation at the moment, is Colin Appleyard selling the shop?
I don't know. I just
That's
seen on
something-
Facebook
that's
or
something
something like
popped
that.
up
I
before.
don't
What's that
actually know the crack, so I won't comment on that. I don't know.
No, because Colin Appleyard, they've
I
won
said
the
they're
championship
closing-
4 times, haven't they?
Oh, I think they're still running the team, are they not, or not?
I have no idea. This is the thing.
I
about
seen the bike shop was
FaceTube,
shut
innit?
down. I don't know. I did see
Right.
it because I read a few comments. Oh, it's such a shame they've been going such a long time. So
Yeah,
Don't know.
no,
you might have
it's
to
a
do a
damn
podcast
shame.
with him, see what the crack is.
Yeah, because we'll get Bradley
Because they've been
Peary
into
on
a
as well.
long time, haven't they? You know?
They have, haven't they?
And they're good sponsors to the whole sport. Wow, they've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you still follow the Supersport class?
Yeah, I still follow it a lot. You know, I'd like to see it as competitive as it was back in the. It's just that I think the class is just, you know, it's hard because you want to make it cheaper, but there's I don't really know, but the Supersport to me is always such a beautiful class, and it's always a good stepping stone to Superbike.
Mhm.
And I think that Rory Skinner will do well for how fast he was on that Supersport bike, and I think if he can get dialed in on the Superbike. But the trouble is now you don't really get a lot of testing. You know, like normally when we go to Spain to learn a Superbike, you'd have probably 10 days or something there on different tracks that just to ride, because you don't have a BSB lap record or something to base yourself off. You only go what bullshit people say they're doing and all that.
Yeah.
So you learn the team and you learn the riders, and that's the best thing about Spain. Where now we just did 3 days at Snedden and probably did I think I did 25 laps in 3 days. So
not a lot of time.
And when you come on as a young kid like that with dripping with talent and stuff like that, and you're on a factory Kawasaki, the pressure of not falling off, but yet trying to learn your craft on a British tracks, and he's going to be up at the it's up against it. But I think if everyone could have the proper times on it, I think that class is hard.
Definitely. So who's your money on for the Supersport then?
Supersport, I haven't really had a look, to be fair, because I haven't, because the Triumphs are in it. There's different rules there. I don't know how that actually even works, because they're like a 765, but they're actually like a speed triple to start off with. They normally come with the straight bars, and they've converted them on, like, I think, and I don't know what the rules are horsepower wise, because I still think if you're on a proper Yamaha with all the Motec and trick engines, I don't think you can go wrong, really.
Right.
I think Ben Curry will be there. I think a few of the boys, but
how do you think Jack Kennedy will get on this six? Is it the 636 or the
600? 636.
636?
I don't know why people run that. I still think that, because I think they run the 636. I think they run the old chassis now with the 636 in it, but with the new bodywork.
That's what Ben Curry did at the back end of the year, wasn't it?
Because
I
don't see how that's the same bike. So normally you got to run the same as Super. It's like saying, oh, okay, I want to put the BMW engine in the Kawasaki because that's what works best. So I don't get,
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
I just don't get it, and I don't really. It should be just how it comes out the factory.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
I think the Triumphs will do well. I think because they're really good talent riders. They're Braden Pash is obviously won the Daytona, and I watched the American stuff, and he was up the front last year. Probably his height, and maybe that might be the only thing for. But I think with the British tracks, it's more punchy stuff, not those big slipstream stuff. So I think it's. And then, Carl Smith obviously was top runner in Supersport in the world. So
Brandon's been really struggling in testing so far. So
it was the first run out on the bike, though, wasn't it? And those things will take a little bit of time to get dialed in, I'd say. So
yeah, definitely.
Right, your last drink on Earth. Then this is my final question. Your last drink on Earth. Which 3 people would you take, past, present, or?
What's that?
Your last drink on Earth. Who would you take? 3 people.
Hell, mate, you're gonna get me shot. I'm not answering that.
Come on, how are you? Your last drink on Earth. Who would you take? 3 people. Past, present,
Charlie Sheen.
Mint answer, right? Charlie Sheen. Then go on. Then who else? That's a mint answer.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to be like Steve McQueen,
right?
And Malcolm Smith.
Mint. What? That's probably the best answer I've ever had.
Because if I said any of my friends or forgot my missus and that, might be getting kicked out the door. So
well, fair enough. To be fair, that is an absolute wicked drink option.
Is your missus over here?
Yeah, she's over here, mate. She's probably asking what you guys are taking so long.
I need
I'm having a bowl. I'm having a bit hot in here. That criminal forensic lights, mate, give me a tan.
Have you watched any of these podcasts? By
I watched the one with Joe and stuff like that. So watch a few of them. And fair play to you boys for doing this as well, because it's chasing the race, and I watched a lot of that Inside the Dream with the Supercross and stuff like that, and that's why I sort of try to be about the start of my stuff. And you can always glorify all the stop stuff about it, but it's good to see how people come through and go back to the basis of how we all started and.
Yeah,
all that's really,
I'll have to
cool.
check. What's that other one? Inside the Dream.
Inside the Dream, or I think it was Inside the Dream, or Inside the Outdoors. There's 6 Supercross and motocross, but now I think Monsters took it over, and you can. But the old stuff is really into their whole life training. Had when they go to the Bakers, like Alden Baker, and it was like when Villapoto was starting. All the young kids. Right. But Inside the Dream, and I think Inside the Outdoors is on YouTube.
It's a YouTube thing, this, right?
Well, I think they still make it, but they've somehow blocked it, so you have to prescribe to the Red Bull, whatever. But the old ones are still on there, and there's 6 episodes. But that goes into their training life. Their dad's giving it to them, and even some of the parents watched it back. Like Mike Alessi's dad watched it back, and he goes, "I didn't realise how hard I was," because he was his manager and his trainer, and he watched it back. He goes, I didn't realise how hard I was on my kid. And he actually took a step back from it because he's just been doing it his whole life to him. But yeah, how they come back from it. Them boys are animals. They don't even get an off season. They got about 6 weeks, I think, from motocross to supercross.
Class.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see the different world.
Proper fun on it. But have you got anything else to ask?
Can I have a go in your helicopter next time around?
Yeah, I've been flying a fair bit. I don't know if you've seen. I've got my own pilot license and that now. So
Factory bill.
nah, I bullshit. I work at the airfield because all the stuff's shut for Triumph, so we have to use an airfield for the thing. But there's always pulling planes. I'm like, I'm going out in this today. Just live the Graham lifestyle,
I love it. All right. Speaking of Graham, give yourself a plug. What's your Instagram?
At McConnell Racer.
Yep.
At Matt McConnell Racer on Twitter as well. So hook us up. I need some more followers. I've only got a few, so
Happy
it's
days.
good for the sponsors.
Give a click.
Sort you out.
Yeah,
But
put it on
thanks so much for taking the time. I love the fact that I give you a call today and it was just like, yeah, no problem, and like, what time? And then
when you said 6:30, I was like, fucking good job. I'm trying not to drink at the moment. I was like, oh, it's normally like Cerveza time, But I said the weather. I said I'm not going to sit down in the beer garden this shit anyway. So and it's good to see. You guys are trying to put something together, and it's about bike racing, and hopefully it can help young people and other people understand how sponsorship works and get people amongst it. So anything to give back, and
on that topic, say there's a 16-year-old listening who's just starting out in racing. Is there anything like in particular you really wish that you knew when you first came over here?
Yeah, it's just be nice to everyone, because you never know the person sat next to you who they could be or who they could help out, and be humble and nice. And I think that's the trouble. I think a lot of these young up and coming people wear the sunglasses and that and think everything's going to land at their feet, but get a fucking job and start working towards it, and people will see how you're trying hard and that. And then even if you do make it, if you got time, you can still carry on working and be nice to people. You meet the same people on the way up as you do on the way down. So I've had sponsors come in and go through my whole time, never fallen out with them. And then you just got to be humble and be true to yourself, I guess, and remember what people did for you, and then try to give that bit back as well. So. Yeah, that's the harder. Sometimes it comes about, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Awesome. Honestly, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on. And
I'll send that video the rest have a clip on.
Definitely. The worst, Grace edits these, so she's gonna get this video and gone. I can just see her reaction already. She's going to be now throwing up to mid.
See, look, this is my motivation and screensaver. I try to take Chrissy's one.
The RB there. Well, I'm rooting for you, mate.
Well, all the best for
Thank
this
you very
year.
much,
And looking forward to some good battles on track.
Good
luck tomorrow.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah, big thanks to our sponsors, Colchester, Kawasaki, all of our patrons, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.
Click, buy, deliver with remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.